It's called Smut. Give me smut and nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut. If it's
Well, it's Christmas time.
No, we're not doing it again. The magic is lost.
I'm not gonna lie though, you guys missed out. Jess really summed up Christmas.
Yeah.
Should I
Well,
say it
the
again?
time between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, it's that 3 weeks where you're very stressed because you have to do all the things that you need to do before Christmas, but it also doesn't feel real because you got Thanksgiving done and it feels like you should be able to rest, but you cannot.
I
Correct.
feel like I hit all of the check marks on my checklist, and somehow there are now only more check marks or
I
checklists.
keep adding checklists.
How does this happen?
We keep getting more days off. So now we have the 24th at work, the 24th
nice.
to the 2nd, which I was like, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But now I have more work to do and less
Right.
time. And like,
Yeah,
I just don't like deadlines.
I mean, that's working in market research. That's the whole thing because everyone's
Yeah.
trying to spend their money before the end of Q4.
Yeah.
And so this is the 3 weeks where everyone's like, well, can we fit in one last survey to so-and-so? And I have to go, yes, but then we close on the 22nd and I will not be working on your shit. So you need to figure that out for me.
Right now, my favorite thing that I'm noticing is that for a lot of people, it's the slower time. And thus, they are very busy because it's slow. So their bosses are giving them a ton of work and thus they're panicking. Like, okay, like, cool. Didn't you just say that we weren't having like the turnaround that we were supposed to at this point in the year? And they're just like,
Right.
no, bitch, keep going.
Yeah.
Like,
Fooled you.
Yep. Hopefully that'll be January for me, but December always sucks.
Yeah. Do you have a podcast thought? If not, I always have a list of random ones just in case I didn't think of a specific one for the episode.
I do not have a podcast thought.
Okay, I have and the list of like backup podcast thoughts I have are just thoughts that I've had that I'm like,
Right.
I would talk about this with my friends now.
Okay.
So I could talk about it with them on a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thought.
Yep.
Josie and the Pussycats, best fake band of all time.
oh, agreed.
Yeah.
Like, best fake soundtrack or, real soundtrack of a fake band, I'd say. Now, what are yours?
Oh God.
If you agree with me, just name another one because I can't think of any others. Because I will still legitimately listen to the entire Josie and the Pussycats soundtrack. So
You want to know what I would say is the band from That Thing You Do?
yes,
I know it's one song. Yeah, before we get monetized.
Yeah. Oh, no, cut that.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that showed up on my Spotify Discover the other week.
Yeah.
And I was like, why do I know this song? And I was like, oh yeah, it's the titular song.
yeah, I think about that song maybe more often than I should.
I get
Actually,
that.
now that I'll just be like washing my hair and I'll be like, oh yeah, that
Yep.
was a jam.
It is a jam. It's great.
Oh, also Spotify Wrapped came out this morning.
I didn't get mine. I opened Spotify, but I didn't get the little here's your Spotify wrap.
I
Really?
got it the first time. The second time I opened it, it didn't show up, so I had to like reopen. Like,
Yeah,
I had
I'm
to
gonna
close the app, completely reopen it. That
I'll
might
get
be
there.
what
I'm not dying for it. I know that it's going to be Chappell Roan, Kendrick Lamar,
Everyone had Chapel Run
and
this year.
Sabrina
Yep.
Carpenter. But
Yeah,
that's what it's going to be.
Wow, you just add Hozier in there and you've got mine as well.
Yep. Yeah. I was and Megan Thee Stallion. I'm going to have a lot of Megan Thee Stallion. I was in the girl group kind of
Nice.
thing. And then also Kendrick Lamar.
Fair.
You know what? You appreciate a bop. I feel
I
it.
love a bop and I love a good rapper because growing up where I grew up, that was the main thing that I listened to. And so when there's like a rap beef that takes up most of the year, like Kendrick Lamar and Drake, I'm in it. He's an incredible artist. He's really, really good.
I do like it when people literally give it to me to I can't discover things on my own all the time. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, listen to this, I go, where do I start? I need you to send me your favorites. And
I
then
will
I'll
send
go.
you a selection of 3 to 5 Kendrick Lamar songs that
I'll
I
take
think
it.
will make you a fan, not just because they're bops, but because he's a really good writer. Like he's a good lyricist.
I will definitely give you that. I just remembered that I did, in fact, look at my Spotify Wrapped Up, and one of the songs is a fake band. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like one of the
What band?
What band?
It's from Turning Red.
The Pixar movie.
Yes, I think they're like A Town or like A Team or something like that. Their name is like that, and it goes, "I never met nobody like you." It's very in sync, and I'm like, why is this so high up? And I realized I played it every single time my niece got into the car.
But then it's not like your song.
I played it without her. I played it without her. What? Four Town. It's Four Town.
Gotcha. Thank you, associate producer Jake.
Yep. But yeah, like I'm like, hold on. I did have a band that wasn't on my Spotify Wrapped Up. What was it? But you say what you will. Minnie not being in the car and Minnie being in the car, I'm listening to Trolls.
Yeah.
I will be listening to Trolls. The Trolls soundtrack
I'm so happy
is a bop.
for you. I'm so happy for you.
I'm happy for you too. I'm happy for you.
I don't care if there's a 4-year-old in the car. I'm going to listen to,
What I was surprised by my Spotify Wrapped, number 6 song, Common People by William Shatner. I really thought that would have been top 5.
You think it would be higher, yeah.
But it's 6. At least it's in my top 10. I have become unhealthily obsessed with that song, enough to a point where my friends queued it up at karaoke for me. Love it so much. I just was like really disappointed in myself, you know?
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
What's the other one that we were...
What else were we singing?
The other, it was a Creed.
Oh, hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet ain't so far down.
Yeah, that has been a soundtrack in our household lately.
Because since the episode,
yeah.
I'm happy. Someone did also sing it at karaoke, and I was like, yes!
Yeah, it was.
We didn't. It wasn't our group. We didn't ask for it. I'm glad it happened.
But
though.
it popped up.
Yeah.
You know what? May certain songs haunt us for the rest of our days.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of haunting us, this is Femmes Reading Filth. Wait, I said it out of order again. I'm Emily Brugen.
And I'm Jess.
And this is
Femmes Reading Filth.
Brava, ladies. That was really... You guys decided who's going high and who's going low.
No.
It's the same thing every time.
I go low every time.
I go high every time.
Yeah. It's just who we are.
We've talked about this on an episode before because you go... Your voice just naturally is higher, like talking. And my voice is naturally lower. And then when we sing, we immediately switch. Cowboys.
Cowboys.
That's what we did.
How did you feel about Cowboys?
I was telling... Okay, so Cowboys / Western, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where we
have
ended
to-
up landing
Can I
through our
ask
journey.
a question?
Yes.
How did you guys agree with me? Do you guys agree with me?
I had a hard time finding a cowboy fic and not a Western fic. So I was finding a lot of things that were set in the like Wild West or the Old West. And then finding something that was specifically centered around a cowboy turned out to be a lot harder. And I did not like those.
Okay.
I was down for a few of the like ones I read that were an adventure. Like everyone has their horses and they're circling the wagons and whatever.
Yeehaw.
But the ones that I found that were like, oh, it's the ranch hand that came to work at the homestead. Most of the ones that I found, I don't know if I was just looking in the wrong places, but they were creepy as hell. And I was not interested in them. So that was my struggle.
And do you guys see my point?
I
though?
have like a hard relationship with it because I remember reading certain cowboy romances when I was younger.
Yeah.
And by younger I mean in my early 20s.
Like Bodice Ripper type ones.
But like Harlequin,
Yeah.
contemporary cowboys, and I remember really liking them, and I couldn't find them because also they're not Kindle Unlimiteds. I do want to try and stick with like my thing of Kindle Unlimiteds, but they were Harlequins. They were all of a series called like The Last Chance Ranch or something, and they were all like novellas. I'm sure there's like a million Last Chance Ranches or something like that, but there was like 3. It was about like 3 brothers and they each found love, and they were all novellas, and I was like, I remember reading them all one after another and liking it, but maybe it's because I read them all together. Maybe it's because it was a continuation. So I'm like,
Right.
You can't really do that with this. I don't want to do 3 separate stories all with different backgrounds and all that
Right.
stuff. So I found another like contemporary thing, and I think during this I was just like, it's fun, it's fine, it's annoying, and it's just I don't read contemporary romances anymore.
Yeah.
I just realized that I read a lot of fantasy.
Yep.
I read and that could take place contemporary, but it's fantasy. I read a lot of mystery. I read a lot of contemporary, but they're all rich and they're at college and they're
That's
actually in the
thing.
mafia. Like,
it wasn't angsty enough for me.
and
It
I'm worried.
wasn't fraught enough for me.
I'm worried that now I have like I can only read dark shit.
I mean, the fanfic that you sent me being like, I spent all day yesterday reading this, like Hermione has throwing knives or something.
Oh yeah, she's so badass. I
Yeah.
love it.
So
I love Vamp Hermione.
that's your comfort. That's our
Please
comfort zone.
That one,
Please
by
send
the
that
way,
to me.
that one, Ginny and Hermione decide that they're done with the order and they switch sides. That's like the plot. And
It's
honestly,
ridiculous and it's so fun.
I love it.
It's so much fun.
and it's so good. And it's 53 chapters. I read it all on a Sunday night, and I was like, "What have I done?"
Can I talk about the one that
Yes.
she and I had a similar thing we learned where both of us started reading fan fictions that were far too long considering we had work to do.
Yeah.
And so it's a horrible thing that happens when prepping for this podcast where I'm in the middle of reading something else and I'm like, I have to find a cowboy fic now.
Yeah.
I have 2 weeks to do it. But I'm just going to finish this 75 chapter thing that I'm in the middle of first.
On top of all your subscriptions,
On top of all my subscriptions. And so I was in the middle of a Harry Potter Hermione AU that I was in the middle of reading and I found due to last week's episode. And it was an AU where all of our characters are together. So Voldemort was defeated and then Professor Rydell comes to teach Defense Against the Dark Arts in the 8th year, and there's something off about him.
I just realized Rydell is Riddle.
Yes.
I was thinking Rydell High, Greece.
There's something weird. There's something off about him, but it is a love triangle between Professor Rydell, Hermione, and Draco Malfoy.
So the blonde
Send that
one
to me as well.
doesn't die.
It's ridiculous and like the slowest slow burn I think I've ever read.
Gosh.
I was
Really?
infuriated. And also, yeah, we did some research, but we did Wikipedia research.
Which
That's fair.
is not bad research, but we
No.
did the exact same, so
Yeah.
we can see who has what.
Oh yeah, let me open my notes.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you write down?
All right. So Western romance genre dates back to the 1800s with the works of Bret Hart, Zane, who was a wrestler,
Zane Grey,
and Catherine Sedgwick.
who wrote love stories about cowboys and their heroines.
One of the big famous ones was Last of the Mohicans in 1826 by James Fenimore Cooper, which helped create the modern framework for Western romance today.
Wow, I
Also,
didn't know Last of the
movie.
Mohicans.
Me
yeah,
neither.
I've seen the movie.
And
yeah.
let me tell you, I freaking loved that book.
Yeah.
Never seen the movie, never read the book. Mom loved the movie. It was a movie when I was growing up going, "Oh, that's one of Mom's movies, so I won't watch it."
I see.
Yeah, Jake is,
Yeah, you get it. You
That
get it.
was his mom.
Not that I wasn't allowed to, but it was just like, "Oh, that's like a boring mom movie." So I just never did.
Is it weird that I think I read it for school?
No, I feel like that's probably in a history class.
Yeah. I think I remember that it was
Okay.
like available in our English teacher like had it as one of the things we could read.
Oh, yeah.
it was definitely like an AP English.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly what it was like. I'm like,
Yep.
was it one of those things that I got away with because my English teacher just didn't want to listen to me?
No,
Like,
I think it was like old enough that they were like, "This is fine. Read this.
Yeah.
This
Shout
is
out
okay."
Dr. Price.
Even though there's kissing in it or whatever. But yeah, I had a really hard time separating cowboy romance and Western romance. And then when I did the research, I felt better.
Yeah.
Because everything that I found was like cowboys are an offshoot
Of Western. Western is the umbrella.
Western is the umbrella. Whereas I was like, oh, cowboys must be the umbrella. And that was incorrect. So I felt a little bit better about my
Yeah.
struggles when I read that.
because I actually don't mind a Western, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You don't like specific cowboys, is what you're saying. But you like something set in like the Wild West or like on a ranch.
I think I can enjoy something that's like set on a ranch.
But
or
usually, if something's set on a ranch, there is a cowboy there. A rancher is a cowboy.
very true. But you know what? You want to know what I'm thinking of?
Hmm.
Like water for chocolate or chocolate for what? I'm thinking.
Oh, like the Spanish.
Yeah.
It's Spanish. Yeah.
Yeah,
They actually just remade it. They're doing a new series on HBO Max.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
okay.
Max.
So you
sorry.
so you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're
can't-
talking about.
It was a book called Like Water for Chocolate or
Yeah.
something like that, and it's
Okay.
about a woman who her mother
It's
kind of
magical
puts
realism.
it's magic in
Okay.
her cooking, and
Okay.
how she grows up in
And that
1800s Mexico.
Yeah, and that happens. It's like technically a Western because like it
Yeah.
happens with rancheros and stuff like that. But like somehow there's no cowboys.
Got it.
Ranchos are probably cowboys.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Why don't you take that away from me?
No, we won't.
Let's continue with our Wikipedia research.
But yeah, setting, rural or Western setting, American frontier can be modern, but it can also be old timey. Like there's not really a time period, which was nice as well.
It spans.
It
Just
spans.
it matters that it's in the region of the
Yeah.
West, not the time period.
Yeah, and then I thought this was not from Wikipedia. I was so proud of myself, but I thought it was interesting because this broke down the themes that tend to come up too, which I agree with based on what I read. But the themes of independence, loyalty, self-reliance, and the bond between humans and nature is a common thing in Western and cowboy romances.
You're explaining this to a cockroach.
I also wrote down the line from Wikipedia. It contrasts the fragility of love with the severity of the harsh landscape.
Yes, I wrote that down too because it hit me. It was like, oh, Wikipedia.
I know. And then I got something. So in the 1950s, and it was always like kind of popular in the early 1900s and stuff. In the 1950s, there saw the rise of ranch romances, which were Western pulp romance magazines.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there was distinct heroines that depart from traditional female roles. So girls can work on a ranch too.
And they can shoot guns and
Yes.
ride horses.
All I could think of was Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Exactly.
That's
And
all
then
I could think of. I was like,
same general vibe.
wait, what?
And then in the 70s, it shifted from magazine to novels, and then the rise of Harlequin. And there was another press, but I didn't care because it was like Harlequin. So yeah, that.
And one thing I wanted to say, not to be the Debbie Downer, but I mean, that's my job on this podcast. But one of the things that does come up in these a lot, like especially if you read the ones that were written before the 80s, is the general demonization and villainization of Native Americans. And a lot of time it's like, ooh, the evil natives have stolen the pure lady and now our cowboy hero must rescue her or whatever. And I just wanted to say a blanket statement that kind of sucks and that's shitty and that's problematic and we don't like that particular part of it at all.
Yeah.
But that is an unfortunate stereotype that exists, especially
of the
history of this genre and this type of romance.
And the times they were written in as well.
Yeah. And so I encourage anybody that wants to like read maybe some native authors to do so. That, you know, there's a lot of really good native romance authors that I looked up and then I didn't write down.
You know who I believe is native. I'm 90% sure she is. Oh, fuck, maybe I shouldn't say it. But Scarlett St. Clair is native. I'm 90. Hold on, I want to say
Google
this
it. Google it right now.
Oh my God.
Oh, I wrote down somebody. It just got lost in my notes while you're looking that up. One of the people that I found was Pamela Sanderson, who wrote a series called the Crooked Rock series. And she's a native author and writes native romances. And so, yeah.
Yeah, she is, Scarlett St. Clair, who does the Touch of Darkness.
Yeah.
Is a American citizen and a member of the Muskogee Nation.
Muskogee?
Muskogee?
Yeah.
Muscogee.
Oh, no, that's not my...
Muskogee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So...
Read some Scarlett St. Clair.
Yeah, she's great.
Support native authors.
Yes.
I did just download one of her books, actually.
Scarlett
One
St.
of the
Clair?
new ones, The King of the Battle and Blood, that one?
No.
Because that's right up your alley.
She's fun.
She's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Game
sold.
of Fate, Touch of Darkness is a Mercedes retelling.
Yeah.
So good.
That's how I first found her. And I
Same.
think one of the first series we bonded over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were friends before that. But
Yeah. But like when we first started talking about books together, yes, that was one of the first ones.
How long does it take you guys to open up to somebody about what you actually enjoyed reading? Or is
Seconds.
it like...
I mean,
no,
it
I guess-
took us like what, 4 years?
You know what,
3
though?
years?
I do think it was a slow rise, though, because we weren't always reading this voraciously of romance. Because when I'm not doing this podcast, I also read a ton of mystery. I love thrillers. I love anything that's like myth retellings that doesn't have to be romance. So like I have a wide I like a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So, and it's
COVID
not always
kickstarted it, though.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends that read a lot of nonfiction. So it's like, well, we don't bond over that because I don't read fucking nonfiction. I don't want to talk about the real world. It's awful.
sounds horrible.
But if someone asks me nowadays, like what I'm reading, I'll if I don't know them, I'll go, I read romance a lot. I do this. If it's someone who I'm having dinner with and we're friends, I'm going to tell them about the smutty smut that I'm reading.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're really good at sharing porn with each other.
I appreciate
yes.
that about
Generally.
you guys.
Oh,
Can I say this might be too much? I was watching porn the other day, as you do, and I had the thought,
as you do.
Emily would really like this.
You bitch. Wait, I should have said, okay, we're already at 30 minutes. So
and I was
this
thinking,
might
and I
get
was
cut.
like, I shouldn't share it with her though. I shouldn't. No, it's too far. It's way too far.
Honestly, be like, I would have been like, thank you. We probably wouldn't have taught. Well, maybe. I don't know. Share with me now because now I want to know. But
although I have had a friend reach out, I won't say who, but one of our very close friends texted me once and went, "What was the name of the?"
I think I know exactly who it is. But okay, I think this is gonna get cut. We're already like so far in, and we already have a podcast up. But I've been thinking about this since we all of us, including some other girlfriends, went out for drinks.
Yep.
We were talking about something, and I mentioned how I was at a hockey game, and Sean, season 1 podcast guest, like jokingly was like, I love how horny you are for these hockey players, and I was like, absolutely. And then everyone around the table went, yeah. And I went, wait. Why is everyone agreeing so fast that like, and then so I don't know if it was you or I don't know if it's someone else, but they're like, yeah, you're the horny one. And I was like, wait.
You are the horny one.
But I don't want to be known as the horny one.
You're just known as the horny one to the people that love you. Does that help?
That does actually help a little.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't want everyone to think that I'm like
No, I think
a horny bitch. I'm just open about my sexual preferences.
Yeah.
And
you want to know, somebody actually recently said this to me, which is just like, oh, I can tell when you're ovulating. And I was just like, love that.
Jake.
Nope. Nope. It was like, she was like, I can just tell by the conversations that we're having. Like,
interesting.
like,
Yeah.
have you
What's
ever
on
had-
your mind?
Have you ever had a best friend where you're just like, that bitch is on, like, you don't have to tell me. I know you're on your period.
Yeah, I know that I'm that person. I know that everyone can look at me and go, it's happening.
Me, always a mystery. Is she bleeding? We don't know.
She doesn't even know half the time.
Next Planon. Bye. She doesn't even know.
What about Cowboys?
That's my secret. I'm
Oh,
always
yeah.
on my period.
I'll
Anyways,
send
Cowboys.
you that porn later.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
So you're going first because
Am I going
I've
first?
been first the last 2 times.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
you're going to go first. Hey, any questions about the research?
Yeah, about Cowboys.
Anything about Cowboys you want a blanket statement before we go into it?
Please do not cut any of that.
We have to.
I think we got to cut the podcast thought and get right into the porn thoughts. That's what I'm.
Yeah, well, I'll do some magic
We'll do
editing.
some creative editing. It'll be fine.
Huh? For the it's for the TikTok.
For the TikTok.
Thank you, associate producer.
Okay, so I am reading to you today a story called Tombstone.
Based off the movie Tombstone?
No.
Oh, I wish.
No, it is an AU. It is a James Bond OOQ AU.
Oh, you love these.
I love OOQ.
I think this is the 3rd one you've done for the podcast, right?
At least the 2nd, maybe the 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely did one with Sean.
Yeah, and that was it was a physical.
That was a workplace romance,
Yeah.
but I don't remember.
I think there was another
I
one.
probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Okay.
I remember listening to the other ones and being like,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. 007 and Q.
Yep. And this is the Daniel Craig version, and this is one of those fun AUs where you don't really need to know a whole lot about any of it. Just picture Daniel Craig, James Bond, Ben Whishaw as Q, who we love, floppy black hair type nerdy boy. One thing I am going to say, just because I know some people like to read these stories after listening to the podcast or just check out our spreadsheet with everything listed, there is an attempted sexual assault in this story, but I'm not including it at all in my retelling.
Oh, okay.
But just something for people to know in general. If you do try to read this, that is in there, but it's not important to the plot. And so I'm just not going to get into it at all. But I just want people to know.
Thank you for telling us.
Yeah. I would hate for someone to click in and be like, yeah, I'm going to read this fun cowboy story. And then they have to
It ain't that fun.
deal with that. Notable tags for this that I just loved. Q in a corset. Bond has too many knives. Slow burn. DS Cowboys, so Dom sub Cowboys / I dare you to say that's not new. And then please don't kill us for ruining U.S. history. So those are the tags that we're
Ruining, more like making better.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's 11 chapters. It was completed in October of 2017, so basically forever ago.
That was one lifetime away.
It was a long
They
time.
didn't know what life was back then.
7 years. And it is a fun fic because it was written by Dora TLG and their friend Only One Truth.
Fun.
And so they switched off chapters. So this
that's
is written by
fun.
both of them.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So they
I
shared
love
it.
friendships.
What a fun project.
Isn't
we
that
should do that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We would.
should do
I feel like
that.
we would have such different writing styles.
Well, I feel like I'd be like, and then they held hands at the end of the first chapter, and you would start the second chapter being like, and they fucked hard. Like,
She
Wait
threw
a
her
second,
knives.
Emily. You're the horny one.
Yeah, she
not
is.
always.
I'm the sexual one. And then the author's note I wrote down because I think it tells you everything you need to know about why I love fics that are co-written. The author's note before you even get into it is, this fic is a complete linguistic mess. A Slovak girl living in England and a Canadian girl living in the US wrote an Old West story. Overall, we just wanted to have fun. So this story might not be overly historically accurate, but it was written with heart and we had so much fun. We hope you'll just have as much fun reading it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually really sweet.
What a cute little disclaimer.
Yeah, so cute. We love it. We're going to have a little romp today.
Ooh, romp it up.
So we don't need to know anything about James Bond, but can you give me like a couple character traits about James Bond and a couple character traits about Q, either of you, if you know them?
You can go.
James Bond is supposed to be kind of the calm and collected, always has suave, general, the thought of masculinity.
Yeah.
International man of mystery.
That's right.
That's Austin Powers, but still.
Still James Bond.
Yeah.
But like he's kind of the straight man,
Yep.
if you will.
Yep.
Am I supposed to do
Q?
Yeah, Q too.
So Q is supposed to be the ideas guy.
Yep.
Always has the gear. Has the intel. A little bit stereotypical. Has been relatively nerdy and
Yep.
or
Skinny.
yeah.
Snap him like a twig.
Yep. Q has been played by both sexes.
Yep.
At this point, unlike James Bond, who was always man.
Always, man.
Always
Can't
man.
name a girl James, idiot.
Be so weird.
What are you gonna name her? Jemima? That's dumb as shit. That's not James.
Stupid.
Q is gender neutral.
And the name Jamie doesn't exist. So
I forgot about that. I'm so sorry, Jamie.
Anywho, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Chapter 1. There is not really a time period specified, but I pictured Old West times. Is that good enough for
So I'm
everyone?
gonna go 1800s on that.
Yeah.
You remember the cover of Sarah Plain and Tall? That's all I can think
Yes.
of.
I don't
Oh,
remember
deep
that,
cut.
Yeah.
It's a very boring girl.
Like
on-
it's
Just in the frontier.
it's her. You know what it is? It's American Gothic without the guy.
yeah.
Got it.
Like,
Yep.
So whenever somebody's like, you think about the West, it's like,
Little-
got it.
Or Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah. So Q is the owner of the gun shop in Tombstone.
Gotcha.
He inherited it when his father, Boothroyd, became sheriff.
What?
Boothroyd?
Spell that.
Boothryd, which was the last name of the original Q from the, I don't remember which
Like
James
the
Bond.
actor?
No, like the character Q.
Oh.
In the books.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Boothroyd.
Dang, that's
Okay.
deep.
So
cuts.
he shows up as Q's father in the fanfic a lot of the time.
I will say, you got to start giving Emily more credit with her names if you're going to bring Boothroyd
I
into
was
this.
gonna say, this is the first time I think I've ever been like, spell that.
Maybe that's fandom, but I thought that was true. So the
No,
listeners can
I mean,
tell us.
it might be. I've just never heard. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know as much lore of James Bond as you do.
Yeah,
You
and I
know
don't
a
know.
lot.
I only know the lore because I'm in this fandom.
Yeah.
So
It's probably true.
but that's what I always heard was that this was a reference to the character Q, but like not the James Bond version, an older version.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So he inherited this when his father became the sheriff. He is the owner of the gun shop. We open on a woman in the gun shop begging him to talk to his father because her husband stole something to make ends meet and got caught and jailed. And Q is like, I'll try, but I don't think it's going to work. And sure enough, he goes to talk to his dad, and his dad is very righteous and is like, that's a criminal, and we don't let criminals, do whatever they want.
Tell him Boothroyd.
24601.
I just stole a loaf of bread. So there's like a fine, and he turns to leave, and his dad goes, by the way, because I'm the sheriff, I got the tip off that there's trouble coming. There's a wanted man coming in this direction. And so if you hear
coming in this direction,
so stay vigilant for a gunslinger cowboy type riding into town.
I'm loving this voice you're doing for
thank
Boothroyd.
you so much.
Please continue it through the whole thing.
I won't.
I want it.
Cut to James Bond riding a Tombstone as a gunslinger would. Everyone is scattering and going inside as he approaches town, and he is annoyed because he's like, I wasn't going to do anything to anybody, but this makes my job harder, and because I was going to try to talk to the townspeople and figure out what's going on, and now everyone's inside. And he goes to the gun shop. He walks into the little gun shop and sees a lanky man with glasses behind the counter cleaning a shotgun. And he puts his gun on the counter and says, I need ammunition for this. And Q is like, okay. And, everybody's in business mode. Q expertly takes this gun apart, immediately starts cleaning and polishing it while talking to James and saying, okay, so what do you need? Blah, 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 blah. We just got this shipment in. And he says, these are really old revolvers or pistols or something. Where did you get them? And Bond says, I had them in the war. I'm a veteran of the Civil War. So that's the old times. That's the type of old times we're in.
Post-Civil War, pre-50s.
Because if I'm remembering correctly, that's how a lot of people ended up going west, is the Civil War ended and people that was right around when people started moving west to get their fortunes and all of that stuff. If I'm remembering my U.S. history correctly.
That sounds somewhat right.
Yeah.
I want you to know all that's going through my head right now is that one scene in the Wild Wild West with Will Smith.
When they have a line dance?
Yep.
Here we go into the Wild Wild West.
I love that movie.
I love that movie
unironically.
We should watch that movie together.
Yes. So, but Bond is finding that he's having trouble making small talk because he's been writing for days and hasn't talked to another living soul. And so we're getting in his monologue like, I don't know how to talk to this kid that's taking apart my gun right now. And he kind of tries to flirt a little bit because there's vibes, and kind of is a little flirty with Q. But
so you're touching my gun.
So you're touching my gun, hey? But Q gets really cagey, and James remembers ooh, actually, where I'm in a small town, there's some people that don't take kindly to homosexuals, so I'm gonna stop doing that. And he tries one last time, tries to backtrack, and says, if all you really wanted to do was fondle my guns, you could have just said so.
Boo, and I love it.
And Q raises his eyebrow, his mouth curling up into a smile. Fondle your guns? You sure are forward, mister. Want to go on polishing the muzzle and shooting the load, or should I just assume that comes with the package?
These are some great lines.
Yes, they are.
Wow.
Yes, they are. The writers, the friend writers of this story did a really good job.
That's good.
And so there's some innuendo, there's some flirting, they're feeling each other, there's some fun tension until the sheriff and his posse burst through the door.
Boom.
And they say, James Bond, you're wanted in 3 counties for slaughtering people and taking down entire towns, and you're under arrest. And James starts fighting them hand-to-hand combat, takes down 3 of them, and then you hear a ch-ch from behind the counter, and Q has his shotgun, and he's pointing it at James. It says, drop your weapons. And then he says, trust me, Mr. Bond, I won't miss, and marches him to the town jail. So, and James is the cowboy. By the way,
The way you're telling this story is making me so happy.
Good.
It's really cute.
Thank you.
And then they come in and they go, "You're wanted in 3 counties." I'm like, you're putting a lot of character.
This
in
is
these
the romp
voices.
I wanted to tell.
I really like it. I'm having a great time already.
Good. All right, chapter 2.
All right.
The sheriff, Boothroyd, says Bond's the trouble that clearly Bond has to be the trouble that he was warned about. He's got a bunch of wanted posters everywhere, looking for James Bond, and they caught him. So all will be well now. And he's like, he just went the way some do. You know, he was a veteran, and after the war, he became a thief and a killer.
As you do.
As you do. And Q is like around this whole time, just kind of has like followed them into the jail and is just watching. And James notices him staring and says, "Are you just going to stare at me, or do you want to continue our chat from earlier?" And he's like he's in the cell now and is just like kind of flirt because I'm picturing from
Why not flirt? You're stuck here.
Yeah, you're in this cell.
What
and
else are you gonna do?
I'm picturing like every Western that I've ever seen where it's one room, and there's a desk, and then there's a jail cell right there, and so Q is like standing by the desk, and Bond is like, and
Funny enough, you're stuck here. I'm stuck here. And
Why don't you polish my nuzzle?
why don't we get stuck together?
Muzzle.
Q says, "Well, I'm just here because I was curious if you were really a killer. Guess you must be." And it's kind of mocking him and making fun of him. And James snarls at him. And we're getting like very enemies to lovers vibes. Like they're flirting, but they're also insulting each other.
Okay.
And Q's like, "You should stop making fun of me and be quiet." And Bond, without warning, because they're getting closer and closer to each other, like through the jail cell. And Q throws out one last insult. And Bond grabs Q's shirt through the bars and drags him close to him. And all Q can see is a tanned face and a grin. And then he just goes, "I'm not the monster you think I am." And he lets Q go.
There's a heart. There's a heart beneath.
There's a heart beneath the
rough exterior.
Cowboy exterior. And Bond starts to explain because the sheriff is like, "We have all these wanted posters." And Bond is like, "You don't understand.
they never get the nose right.
They never get the nose right." No. Bond is like, "They're all a lie." Raul Silva, who is the villain from
Quantum?
the
The third one.
Skyfall.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Who's the villain from Skyfall, played by Javier Bardem.
Yes.
The main, I would say, notable villain of the Daniel Craig James Bond era, who kind of went crazy and is a rival of Bond's. That's kind of all you need to know. But Bond is like, he's behind all of this. He's on his way here right now. He went crazy after the war, and he takes out entire towns, him and his gang. And I came here to try to head him off. He killed someone I really love, Vesper.
I was going to say Vesper.
And Bond is like, "I came to Tombstone to head him off. And he tried to recruit me 3 months ago because we fought alongside each other in the war. But he didn't take, the quote is, he didn't take to peace well." And so now Bond is like, "I'm the only one that can stop him, and you guys have to help me." And no one believes him because there's all these wanted posters, and the internet doesn't exist, and all they have are wanted posters.
If only Google was here.
If only. And so no one really believes him. The sheriff kind of leaves. Q is still there, and Bond is kind of looking him up and down and says, you know, he's really good at covering his tracks. You have to believe me. He picks small towns in the middle of nowhere so no one notices until it's too late.
Like this town.
Like this town here. Before he leaves, Q is like, kind of believes him. They're like locked in a stair. And Q is like, "Okay, I kind of believe you, but it would be too much to just let you out of jail." So he just unlocks Bond's handcuffs. And then he leaves. He's like, "I'm going to help you a little bit." But
so he has free range of the cell.
Yes, but and his hands are free, so now he can presumably maybe get out or
Gotcha. Okay.
be a little bit more free. But he's leaving, and Bond is like, "Come back, or at the very least, be careful that he's coming. I promise he's coming." Chapter 3. Bond starts to chat with the guy across the cell from him named Tanner.
Is he gonna flirt with him?
No, he doesn't flirt with him. But
Good.
But Tanner is like, "I've lived in this town my whole life." Q has a good head on his shoulders. If he'll believe you, don't you worry. But he might need a little time to think about it. Hope isn't lost, and Q returns to his shop to finish out the day, trying not to think about Bond's muscles. The sun is going down when a tall man wearing spurs enters the shop.
How tall?
Very tall.
Like a tree.
Like Javier Bardem size.
Oh, hey.
Is he tall?
I have a feeling I know what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very unusual, Q notes, because this man is dressed in light colors, which is not something cowboys usually do because you get dirty out in the fields or whatever. Most people wear like brown and black and or like, you know, shirts they're not afraid to get dusty. This guy's wearing creams and whites, and that's very villainous in the West. And so he comes in and he's like, he hands him a whole list, and Q notes like, this is long, this is a lot, this is for a crew, this isn't just for this guy. And the guy initially says, is the owner around, clearly expecting his dad, and when Q says it's him, he seems really surprised. And he tells him his name, and Q freezes because it's what Bond said, it's Silva. After he looks at the long list, the way that it's described is this is enough ammunition to last a party of 10 2 weeks. There's lots of different kinds of bullets, lots of different kinds of like things that they need, and Q thinks fast and is trying to stall and is like, well, I don't have all of this in stock. I can give you like this, but I don't have ammunition for these shotguns. I don't have ammunition for this. You'll have to come back tomorrow, and is trying to stall him, and that pisses Silva off. But he like really begrudgingly is like, fine, takes what he can, and then leaves. Q immediately leaves and rushes over to his father, being like, Bond was telling the truth. I just saw a man named Silva. He was buying up a bunch of ammunition. Like, he's got to have a crew somewhere. The town is in danger. And his dad is like, I'm the sheriff, and I would know if the town was in danger, and we caught the real criminal, and he was on all the wanted posters. What do you mean?
Harumph, harumph,
Harumph,
harumph.
harumph, harumph.
That guy didn't give me a harumph.
Man, parents just don't understand.
It's like, we don't need to listen to murderers to protect ourselves. And Q once again goes, fine, Dad, and storms out. And he goes right to Bond in the jail cell and is like, I saw Silva. I need you to remind me, like, tell me why I should let you out. What can you do that no one else can do? And Bond says, I don't know what kind of gunslingers you have in this town, but I'm better. You need a marksman like me to take him down. And Q makes him promise that he'll only kill Silva if necessary. And Bond is like, okay, sure, yeah, fine. And so he sneaks him out, and they're going to go try to take him down together. And so they go to the gun shop first. They load up on supplies. Q starts to get all his ammunition together and like hide it because he's afraid that Silva's going to come raid his shop. And Bond is like, oh, that's really smart. I'm very impressed by you. He was like, oh, you know what you're doing. So they load up on supplies. They grab horses. Q, in like James Bond, or at least in fandom lore, Q is afraid of horses. I don't know if
so random.
I don't know if that's real, but like I have read several stories where the author has chosen to make Q afraid of horses.
That's so weird.
So to me, it's just canon now, but I have
think
no
I like
idea.
that.
Yeah,
I like that. That's canon.
I like
yeah,
that.
I have no idea. Maybe there was a movie where there was a moment, but I have no idea. It doesn't matter. And as they leave, they run it out of town to try to find Silva and his men. And Bond is like, he's got to have a large gang. Q, you're from around here. Where do we go? And Q's like, oh, there's a mountain pass near the river. Let's head that way. About an hour into riding, Bond is like, Q, how do you know where we're going? We don't have a map or anything. And we learn that Q has a photographic memory, which is very convenient for this fic. As they reach the next town, Fairbank, the sun has gone down. They've been riding through the evening. It is unusually dark. And Bond is thinking, like, that's really odd. It's nighttime, but like, it's still early enough. I should see some lights. Like, this is a whole town. I should see something.
Is this a bigger town than Tombstone?
It's about the same.
Okay.
It's like the next town over, like just before you hit the mountain pass.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of
There should be some gas lamps.
There should be something, right?
Yeah.
There's not. And then Q goes, "What's that smell?" And Bond kind of yells, like, stay here, throws him the reins, leaps down from his horse, and tries to be stealthy on foot because he doesn't necessarily know what he's getting into, but he knows in his heart because he starts to smell it too, what it means. And he gets to the town and he has a match. He like lights not a candle, but a
Like a
torch.
okay.
like a something. He lights it
He lights something on fire.
so he can see, and he sees dead bodies.
Oh.
Like clearly this town has been taken out. Like everyone has been massacred. That he can't see a single soul alive, and is afraid to yell out, but can tell like these folks have been dead for at least a day.
Ooh, gross.
Yeah. And James knows that because he was in the war and he can tell. Q has not listened and has followed him and immediately pukes and is really, really upset when they see the worst of the bodies. And this just like heightens their resolve. They retreat and they go to like pitch a tent near the river and just camp out. Q is shell shocked. And Bond is like, I'm sorry you had to see that, and kind of tells him some war stories to commiserate a little bit.
Time for some trauma bonding, you say?
Yep. And he reveals that Vesper, his partner, the one that Silva killed, was his only comfort after the war and was the only one that he was able to tell these stories to, which is why it's extra sad that she died, you guys. They end up falling asleep next to each other by the fire, and Bond wakes up a few hours later to Q, who has moved closer to him and is gripping his arm and squirming around and clearly having a nightmare. And Bond wakes... I love this trope, by the way. We're like, oh, he's having a nightmare. I'm going to wake
hurt
him.
comfort during a nightmare.
Oh, my God. And Bond wakes him, tries to really gently wake him up, and Q, still half out of it, like, looks around and goes, oh, God, why am I out here? This is the nightmare. And, like, hates... He's like, I shouldn't be out here. I hate this.
That's how I feel about camping.
So
Yeah.
I definitely probably would feel about camping.
He does not want to be there. He does not. And he's still half asleep. And so Bond, like, who's very aware that now, like, he's stroking his hair and Q is still gripping his arm. And Bond is like, we're very close together and I like it. And is trying not to move his arm or startle Q out of things. And he just starts to stroke his hair and says, like, it's okay. Go back to sleep. It will all be better in the morning. And, like, hushes him. And then he goes, okay. And he falls back asleep. And it's very cute. The next day, Q is incredibly embarrassed, remembers getting his hair touched to sleep, and immediately meets Bond's eye across the fire that he started to cook them breakfast. And Bond just has a shit-eating grin on his face and goes, did you sleep well? They decide to go forward, and they realize, like, and Bond decides to flirt to try to distract Q and says, all right, are you sure you want to leave? Or you sure you don't want to share my horse? I could touch your hair again. Like, waggles his eyebrows. Q's like, I'm not a child. And they go back to Fairbank. The vision of the bodies in the daylight is awful, but it's the best lead that they have to figure out where to go next. And so Bond, like, gets down from his horse and, like, is tracking, like, looking for tracks out of
Realizes
town.
that the bodies are in like an arrow formation.
Yeah, they've all been arranged in a really specific way.
It's actually an R and an S.
Yeah.
I left my calling card in bodies.
But it's enough, and it comes to the train tracks, and they realize that they must have used the train to cover them, because it must be like up along the tracks up in the mountains where the mines are, and so they follow the tracks up into the mines. They gallop up to the mountains. They're both sweating. They're looking for tracks, and they find a good place to hide their horses. Q is like kind of braggy, and he's like, well, if you were from here, you know that the mines are right over there. And Bond is like, idiot. And Bond is like, oh, well, then lead the way. And Q gets annoyed with him and tries to push his chest while they're both on the horses. Like, stop making fun of me, and pushes him. And Bond doesn't move at all. It's like pushing a rock. Mm-hmm. And Q is like, that didn't work, and that was sexy.
His chest feels nice.
His chest feels nice. And Bond goes, are you having trouble, Q? And Q, like, bites his lip, and they get a little bit closer until the horse moves a little bit and the moment breaks, and Bond goes, that goddamn horse, and drops his hand, and they continue up the mountain. They find his gang in an abandoned mine. It's a huge group of people. It's like 15 guys. And they can't flank them easily, but Q's like, okay, I think I can climb up on that cliff area overlooking it and start shooting, basically. And if I can do that, then you can start picking them off one by one. So that's what they do. And it starts to work at the very beginning. So Q kind of sneaks his way around and climbs up to the top of this cave. And with his shotgun, like, I forgot. He takes rocks and he just starts chucking rocks down on them, and then they all start coming up to him, and then with his shotgun, he
like
starts
one
to
at a time.
take them out one by one.
Gotcha.
While Bond comes in on the other side with his knives and his guns and his fists and starts taking them out from over there. Q is absolutely lethal, and Bond lets it distract him and looks up to see Q take down another guy when he hears a shot behind him and he's suddenly on the ground. Bond is. And he looks, and Silva is holding a gun behind him. Silva and a search party were out getting supplies when all this went down, and now they've come up with 10 more dudes behind our heroes, and now they're trapped. Bond doesn't give a shit that he's just been shot in the shoulder and rushes Silva, tries to tackle him to the ground, takes a bad punch to the jaw and a stab to the gut, and then he's down again. Silva and him start to wrestle when he hears a shot, and Silva shouts in pain, and Bond sees Q standing with impeccable posture, shotgun ready, looking like a dream. Or maybe that was the knife in his gut talking.
Looking like a dream.
And Q had shot Silva in the shoulder, just like Bond had gotten shot in the shoulder. And Silva's like, I recognize you. You're the kid from the shop. And he threatens him, and he goes, oh, you did James tell you what happened to his last partner? You're going to go the same way. Yeah.
Not Vesper.
I know. James thinks fast, punches Silva in the shoulder wound.
Nice.
And when he doubles over in pain, they leap on a horse. And James is riding the horse, and then he goes by Q and goes, Q, and holds out his arm, and Q grabs him by the forearm.
Yes.
And he pulls him up behind him, and they escape together on the horse.
I always love in movies when that happens. When,
I
when it's
love
just
it.
a forearm grip, and that's enough. I mean, I think it's mostly in like Lord of the Rings. And it's usually the elf.
Yes,
So
it's how they
very
get
light on his
Legolas
feet.
anywhere.
Yes. Where he's on an elephant and he's in front of it, and then he goes, okay, and he like jumps backwards onto it, and you're
Yep.
like, what the fuck did this
It's
elf just
great.
do? I love it.
That happened.
I love it.
In this cave.
He jumped onto an elephant.
He jumped onto an
I
elephant.
knew it.
They get clear, but Bond fades really fast. Q has to basically drape him over the back of his horse and walk the horse
He has
to
to
a
suck
safe
out
place.
the bullet.
No,
with
it's
his
even
mouth.
worse. It's even gnarlier. He takes off Bond's shirt, and there is a moment where he's like, he's really muscly. Wait, back to business, Q. You need to save this man. Starts to tend to his wounds. The worst is obviously the shoulder wound that he has to stick his fingers into to try to get the bullet out. And it's very gnarly. And it it wakes Bond up, and Bond goes, ah, and sits up, and Q has to hold him down and is like, no, you got to let me do this. And is like digging around in his shoulder and finally gets the bullet free, but it's gross.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either. And Q is like straddling Bond to keep him still. So he's on top of him with his legs on either side of like Bond's stomach. And finally, he pulls out the bullet. Bond shouts and grabs Q's thigh in a bruising grip because of the pain.
Hot.
And Q like kind of gives himself a moment and kind of like sags down and like puts his forehead on Bond's forehead and just like takes a couple deep breaths to recover, and then starts tending to his other wounds, bandaging his wounds. Whole time still on top of James Bond. Realizes after a while that he is on top of him, and he goes to like move, fully assuming that Bond has been passed out this entire time. And when he goes to move, his thighs are gripped tighter, and Bond goes, leaving so soon, Q? But like really faintly, because he's almost dead. Leaving so soon?
But it's so cute.
Yeah.
Because he's trying.
He's got to flirt no matter what.
Look, I may be on the verge of death, but I have a really good one line that I got to get out.
That's just really
I'm
something
James Bond.
I admire about someone. Like,
Yeah.
even if you're not well, you should still be flirting.
Yeah. I'm going to shoot my
ABF,
shot.
always be flirting. Always be flirting.
Always be flirting.
West.
Q pushes down on his chest again and says, you were just shot. You need to rest and recover. And
But
Bond,
first, boner.
First boner.
Let me touch your boner.
And Bond is like starting to kind of come back to himself, is like examining his body with horror at like all of his injuries, and is just like, oh my God, this is awful. And Q kind of mumbles like, I tried my best, but I know it's not great. We don't have a lot of supplies, but I tried my best. And Bond goes, no, Q, you did so well. And like
Aw.
puts his hand up to his cheek.
Yeah, buddy, thank you so much.
Yeah, you did so good.
So did me.
Yeah. And Q kind of sighs and goes, okay, thank you, and like leans into Bond's hand.
Cute.
And then he like thinks about it a minute and then goes, fuck it, and then kisses Bond. And Bond kisses him back, but then when Q goes to bring him tighter, Bond goes, because he's got a bullet wound. Mm-hmm. And Q goes, this is ridiculous, and stops. Right, that thing. So Q says, this is ridiculous, you need to rest, please stop. And when he says this is ridiculous, we need to stop, Bond, I'm going to read this because I just thought it was good. Is this the part, Bond hazarded very cautiously, where you give me a lecture about appropriate conduct between two men? Q starts to laugh, maybe a little bit maniacal. No, between giggles. No, Mr. Bond, I will not. I will, however, lecture you about being a good patient who doesn't want to die overnight. But will you continue sitting on me? James said with a quirk of his mouth.
Sit on him.
So they Q once again says you're ridiculous, finally gets off of him, and when they prepare to sleep, Bond is like, we should like stay near each other for warmth, and Q dozes off leaning on his good shoulder.
Come on and cuddle.
Yeah, they cuddle, they snuggle by the fire, and it's very cute.
That's cute.
When they wake up, when Q wakes up, he looks over, Bond is still asleep and he has a fever and he doesn't look like he's doing good, so Q decides to leave him and walk to another town for supplies. He goes to the doctor in town who takes one look at Q and goes, you should come to the back to get cleaned up. And Q's like, I don't really have time for that. Like, I really just need bandages and medicine. And the doctor goes, no, you should come back here. And as soon as he does and holds up a mirror, Q's like, oh, thank you. Because he's covered in dust and blood and looks awful and very obviously has just been in some kind of a fight. And so he's able to clean up, and while he's doing that, the doctor, in hushed tones, says, there's someone else that came in earlier needing help, and he wasn't so kind about it. You should keep an eye out for him.
RS.
And Q kind of nods and sneaks away, moving as quickly as he can to gather supplies, because he's like, oh, okay, like, Silva and gang are here. He sees Silva on the street, and immediately clocks, like, oh, he saw me, and now he's coming for me. So Silva's making his way to him. Q ducks into the first establishment that he can find, which is a old saloon with the swinging doors, and he runs upstairs to try to find some kind of an exit and realizes that this is an establishment for the ladies of the night.
Brothel.
It's a brothel / saloon type thing, which I think was pretty common back then.
Yeah. At least on Westworld.
Yeah. And the madam of the establishment,
Where we all understand anything
we
of
all
the Western
know.
times.
Yes, it all comes from Westworld. And so the madam of the establishment starts to yell at him and is like, this is a place of business. What are you doing running around up here? And he like really quietly is like, I'm so sorry, but like there's a man coming to try to kill me. Silva, I don't know if you know him. And she goes, I got it. Let me help. I'm going to help you. And she's like, the only exit is out the front. You'll have to hide. And he goes, how? And she goes, in plain sight, and holds up a dress.
Here's
and
that
hands
tag.
him a dress. And so Silva comes into her office about 5 minutes later, and her beautiful daughter is standing there next to her, which is cute, in a dress. And
Thank God he's pretty.
thank God he's pretty. And he's inquiring about the services of her ladies, and she turns him away because he was not very kind to her ladies last time he visited this establishment, and she does not appreciate it, and neither do her ladies. And he's pissed. He storms out, but he doesn't seem to notice Q as Q. And Q then waits a few minutes and then goes to duck out, thinking he's in the clear, and he's starting to walk down the hall when a hand grabs him by the scruff of his neck and pulls him into an empty room. And Silva has in fact clocked him.
Oh no.
Yes. So he's picked up, thrown into the wall in this room. The door is closed and locked.
Oh,
and
you
Silva
can't do
has
that
him.
to a lady.
I know.
Ladies don't have scruffs of the necks.
But Q does. And he's like he's like threatening him the whole time. He's like, but now I'm gonna wreck you as thoroughly as I wrecked James's last toy.
Oh, I don't like that.
Not great.
I don't like the subtext. I don't like the on top text.
Don't like it.
I don't like.
Q to that lifts up his head because like Silva's like on top of him. Lifts up his head and bites as hard as he can into Silva's cheek.
Yeah.
And rips the
Ew,
skin
gross.
off of his face. which I think he deserves. He rips it out. The whole time, by the way, this whole kind of fight is happening in this room. He can hear the madam, whose name is M, by the way, who is,
Nice.
played by Dame Judi Dench in the Daniel Craig James Bond. He can hear her yelling at the door, pounding at the door, like trying to get in, but it's locked. And as soon as
My daughter.
Someone quick.
Someone, my girl. And so obviously Silva does not like getting his cheek ripped out. He like yells, kind of stumbles away from Q to the other side of the room. And just as he does that, the door splinters in and they turn to see Bond clutching his side, but there and very alive and staring daggers at Silva. And he immediately rushes him and they start to fight with fists. But he's not well because he's still recovering. And Q needs to help, so Q finds a chair and lifts a chair above his head and slams it down on Silva's head.
Man, he's having a bad day.
Oh yeah, but it doesn't seem to do anything to Silva. He's like a rage at this point, and he's just yells and gets angry and turns on Q after that and slams him against the wall, choking him. And then Q takes out his dagger that he has and stabs Silva in the gut.
Nice.
And Silva gasps. And then Q sees James right behind Silva, and he feels another knife hit his knife through Silva's back.
Nice.
So James stabs him in the back, and Q stabs him in the front, and Q feels James' knife touch his knife.
So he just shish kebabbed him.
They just shish kebabbed him.
They touch tips.
They did within a man, like within his guts, and and James like
We both just look so
interesting.
When two people have to like visually figure it out in their head, and you see them both the math symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
And there's a sickening wet noise as James withdrew his knife, eyes like cold winter skies, and Silva managed to blink at Q in shock just once before his body fell away. With Silva down, it reveals James there looking real rough, but still holding a knife, bathed in red all the way up to his fist. And as Silva falls, he doesn't even hit the floor before Bond says, "Are you all right, Q?"
Aw.
I know, so cute. And Q goes, "You have so many stab wounds. Why are you asking me if I'm like you? How are you standing right now?" And he goes, "But
really
I'm all right."
Pretty in that dress,
Right?
I like that corset on you.
And
Oh my god, I forgot.
He's wearing a corset. Yeah.
he's wearing the whole business. He's like, "Why are you asking me that?" "Yeah, I'm fine." And Bond just grabs his face and kisses him against the wall. That's very cute. And just as he pulls back to say something, they hear footsteps on the stairs, and 3 lawmen fill the doorway. They're coming with them because there's a dead body in this room and something happened, and we're men of the law.
Someone's got to answer for it.
We're taking you in. They're sitting together in a cell. Q is still in a dress. James has newly bandaged wounds, and James, like, after like sitting in silence for a few minutes, James clears his throat, just goes and pulls a knife out of nowhere. And Q is like, "Where did you hide that? They took all of our guns and weapons. Like, they searched us." And James goes, "Nah," and shrugs. Hands Q a knife and goes, "Just in case, here you go." He's like, but Bond goes, "I mean, in that dress, I don't know where you're going to put it. You don't have any pockets." And Q like swishes his skirts a little and goes, "Do you like my dress, Mr. Bond?" And they're like flirting kind of about it. And Q leans in and says, "I wasn't a big fan of hers, but I'm starting to appreciate it more." And James says, "I thought you were a sweet, shy man. Why are you flirting with me? What's gotten into you?"
I killed a man.
Yeah.
I felt your tip touch my tip within his body.
And Q says, "I'm not sure what's gotten into me, but you better take advantage while it lasts."
Pretty soon it will be you.
Bada bing.
And James looks delighted and looks at the cell door, grinning. And Q goes, "I'm not wearing anything under this dress."
This is so forward.
Underneath these clothes, nothing.
My body. And Bond says, "You're going to ruin me, Q." And just as Bond pushes his hand up Q's skirt, Tanner from before, opens the door and walks in saying, "Hey, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for interrupting. I was going to let you out. I'm so sorry." And he goes, "We figured out that Silva was a bad guy. We found all of his men, and they all confessed pretty quickly. So
Nice.
you guys are heroes. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for taking him out.
Do you guys need 10 minutes?
Do you
Can
guys
I come
need 10
back?
minutes?
Make it 12.
Due to the laws of the Old West, that means that you're free." And they give Q a shirt and trousers to change back into, and they are welcomed
Aw.
home as heroes.
But you're going to miss that dress.
I know. They get to return to town, but when they do, Q is like, "Well, Bond, what are you going to do now?" And Bond's like, "Well, I'm used to a solitary life. I've lived a solitary life out in the
I was
country."
literally waiting for you to say, "I'm going to fuck you."
Yeah. Nope. I've lived a solitary life for so long, and I'm pretty sure that someone still wants to throw me back in jail, so it's probably not wise that I stay anywhere for too long. And Q's like trying to be cool about it, and it's like, "Yeah, well, I don't want to.
I'm not interested in any sort of long-term thing
Yeah, I
either.
don't want to hold you back. I don't want to harsh your vibe. So like, you can go."
But I can keep this dress if you want me to.
Right, if you're into it. And Bond like half jokingly goes, "Well, maybe you can join me in the outlaw life." And Q kind of just like looks around his shop and is like, "No, I think this is my home." And James drags Q into like one last romantic kiss, and before Q even opens his eyes, the bell over the shop door dings and James is gone. Chapter 10. Q returns to business as usual in the gun shop, but he keeps dreaming of Bond. After 6 weeks of this, he's constantly regretting letting James go. He spent the first few weeks of those 6 weeks writing letters to everyone who had falsely blamed Bond for Silva's crimes and cleared his name.
Aw.
So Q has like a letter writing campaign and writes to all the sheriffs.
Because internet's not available yet.
Yeah, and goes, "You remember those wanted posters? They're not right." And
Take 'em
like
down.
tells them about
How
Silva.
do you write? Like you're running out of time.
Yeah, that's the montage.
yeah,
like
okay, gotcha.
the first 3 weeks
He's
is just
innocent.
Q. He's innocent. My boyfriend is not my boyfriend.
My not boyfriend.
My not boyfriend. My cowboy
We
man.
kissed once. I have a dress. Nobody. No, don't worry about it.
But after another 3 weeks, after clearing his boyfriend's name, he's just feeling really depressed, and his forehead is like resting on the counter of the gun shop when he hears the bell over the door, and he looks up to see James Bond leaning against the door jamb with his arms crossed, smiling ear to ear. And he says, "I decided to come back." And Q is very confused, but also very, very happy, and is just staring at him. And then before you know it, they're banging for most of this chapter.
Yay!
They're making out. They make out on the front desk of the gun shop for a while.
Good for them.
And then they go upstairs to Q's apartment.
Well, he's got his own place.
And there's lots of sarcastic banter.
We love banter.
And
He's got his own place.
at one point, Q, because
Mortgage.
Bond is like teasing him and like halfway giving him a blowjob, and Q goes, "I'm starting to regret clearing your name." And Bond teases him, and then once they're done with all of their lovemaking and they're finally back together and they're laying in bed, and Bond is stroking Q's hair, and they're just loving their lives together, Bond says, "I don't know if I can always be here, but I promise I'll always come back."
Aww.
And there's an epilogue, but we don't need to talk about it because that's just them living happily ever after. And that's the fic.
That was full of some good one-liners. Some
Right?
really
You know
good,
what?
like, cowboy western one-liners.
Thank you. You see what I mean? Where I was like,
Yeah.
this will be a good romp
That
to tell.
that works. That works, and I'm glad you did it.
Thank you.
Because that was pretty fun.
Thank you.
The flirting was good.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And it's funny because I can sometimes when you do AUs, like it's really hard for me to picture like Kylo Ren as
Yeah,
an
yeah,
Amish
yeah.
guy. But for some reason, I can picture like Daniel Craig easily.
Every single
I had that
person was
too.
easy
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
to picture.
Yeah.
I
Same.
don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I think the James Bond archetype fits well into the cowboy archetype. And also Daniel Craig, I think, is just really easy to picture as a cowboy. And I don't
Yeah.
completely know why.
Hyper masculinity feels accurate.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Hyper masculinity. I can speak words.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Feels very, very accurate for cowboy romance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can, because he's so good with like the little smirk and like he is already
gotta
good
be
at one-liners.
coy.
But
Yeah.
then I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, Pierce Brosnan, the last James Bond. I go, you know what? I think I could have maybe pictured him in this too. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
think the
easy.
characters work really
Yeah.
well. Yeah, as
So
overlapping things.
That's just something interesting I realized.
yeah.
I can only picture Pierce Brosnan in my Mamma Mia 2 because Jake watches it on repeat.
That makes sense. I mean, he's so good at Mama too. And then the game is similar, I'm realizing right now, to a game I did earlier in the season, but it doesn't matter. We had a lot of different cowboy weapons in this fic. What would your cowboy weapon of choice be? So in this one, we had knives, a shotgun, a chair, fists, snakes at one point, even though I didn't say it. Like somebody got bit by a snake. Is there a
I didn't say it, but snakes were involved.
Yeah. Is there a cowboy way that you would want to be in a fight? Like if you were in a saloon fight, how would you want to conduct yourself?
If I was in a saloon fight, I think the first, like, chair would be fun.
Yeah.
Because you never get to hit anyone with a chair
No.
unless you're a wrestler. But, like, in a saloon, or, like, you do the beer bottle, like, and you do that.
Yeah.
But if I was, like, in a cave, knives.
Knives.
Hands down. I have also, I think I've said it on this podcast before, I would love to have a dagger. I would love to have just, like, strapped to my thigh at all times.
Yeah. What would your saloon fight weapon of choice be? Or cave fight, or both, whatever you want.
My unparalleled wit.
I think you could talk your way out of most situations.
I mean,
I would agree with that.
I mean, what am I gonna like? I'm gonna be real. Every time I think about my greatest weapon, it's never fisticuffs.
I could see you sitting at the bar. Someone does something. You try and talk your way out of it, and then you're just like, "Fuck this!" You pull like a tiny gun. Like not
you
a
have
shotgun.
one of those little pea shooter.
You have a pea shooter.
Yeah.
and you're like, "Fuck it." And
one of
you
those
just boom.
ladies' guns.
Yeah, there's just something. I feel like I grew up playing hockey.
Yeah.
And so like there's so many times in my brain that I'd want to like kind of mess somebody up or do something, and every part of me is like, no, that's time away playing the game, dummy. Like don't do that.
But this is like a you're in the Old West bar fight.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, then a gun. I want distance.
Yeah.
Distance.
Yeah, that's fair.
I understand.
I want to see the life leave someone's eyes.
You know what, Emily? Actually, she's just gonna go for poison.
I think you would do poison, but you wouldn't
I would love to
You can't do
poison.
poison in a bar fight.
No, that's too slow.
But
I
if
mean-
you were working at a saloon, you wanted to kill somebody, that's a pretty good way of doing it. I
Oh,
would
this
want
rat poison?
no.
It's just beer.
I would want to know. Yeah, I would want to understand more about like who you would be murdering, but I think it would be fine. Yeah,
Wait, what are you using?
Piano chords.
2x4 with some nails in it.
Yep, there it is, kids.
Probably.
Classic 2x4.
Is something that I made that I happen to have behind the bar.
So maybe okay. So this is a pre-made, not like the chair broke. There's nails sticking out of it. You're gonna hit someone.
No. In this
is a
imaginary,
pre-made.
in this imaginary scenario, I work behind the bar,
Yeah.
and I need something to discourage people that are trying to fuck with my bar.
So not a baseball bat.
No. I have a piece of wood with some nails in it because it is a very good deterrent. And then if I need to hit somebody, I got one really likely good shot, and then I'll pull out knives.
And then also, first step to starting a treehouse.
But the
There you
first
go.
the first time someone gets taken down by a 2x4 with nails in it, I think that stops the fight dead right there. I don't think people keep going after that.
Good story, Jess.
Amazing.
It's my turn now.
Is it a romp like mine?
It's not really a romp.
Okay.
But for most of it, I'd say for 75% of the book, I was like, yeah, I'm in. This is fun.
okay.
It's definitely a like series with standalones. And I was like, well, I definitely want to read. And I like, you already know who the couples are going to be in each one. And I was like, I definitely want to read that couple's book.
Got it. Yeah.
Trigger warning in this for death, cheating, and mentions of abuse.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes it sound like this was really dark. It's not very dark.
Okay.
Well,
These are all just
they've
like
gotta
mentions.
throw things in there to make it interesting.
Yes,
Gosh
yes.
darn.
This is very much the like, think of it as like, oh, there's a third act breakup kind of thing. Like
Got
it's
it.
that it's a
Yeah.
quintessential Western romance. You had told me that you had read one and you didn't like it, and it's one that's popular now.
Yeah, it's
so
everywhere.
I those are the ones that kept popping up. There was another one that kept popping up too, and I went, let's just stay away from all the like big fancy ones.
Big
so
names.
I didn't have to dig too far, but I started reading like one or two of them, and within like 10%, I was like, this isn't it. So I found this one. I was like, okay, this is fun. Okay, so I read The Devil in Blue Jeans by Stacy Kennedy.
Wow.
It's 288 pages, and it came out 2024. So this year, practically forever ago.
Yeah.
Synopsis. I also I did this as I was reading it, so all the notes were crazy. I went back yesterday and was like, let's make these a little nicer. Let's make them, I'm going to put more effort into my notes like Jessica does.
And?
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
So
we're going to find out.
It's going to be totally different now.
Picture it. Charlie, Aubrey, and Willow are three best friends who are about to start their post-college lives. As a final girls' trip before college graduation, they go hiking in Yellowstone, and I believe it's Aubrey who's like, ugh, I don't want to fucking be here. Like, why are we hiking? We could have been in Greece. We could have been doing this. I see myself in Aubrey a lot.
Sounds a lot like how I would treat any sort of camping trip.
Yeah.
Correct. This
Why
is
are we
why
outside?
I've never been camping.
I have been forced camping, and no one survived.
Nice.
I love camping.
I was like,
actually.
Jake wasn't there.
I love camping, but I know better than to try to force Emily to go camping.
If everyone wanted me to go and like made me go, I wouldn't be a dick about it. I would like have a good time. I would make sure I don't want to be a dick while I'm there. Afterwards, I'll be a bitch.
But you understand why I won't be a dick about it is not sufficient for me to invite you camping.
100%. I don't own a thing. I would have to share like a tent. That sounds terrible.
We'd share a tent with you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. Sorry. So they're all hiking. They're doing this. Aubrey's like, why the fuck are we here? Charlie's like, just wait 1 second. We'll, like, get around this bend. I need to show you this thing. And they come across the town of Timber Falls. So they're all currently at Berkeley finishing up their various degrees. Charlie and her boyfriend Marcel are planning on moving to Arizona to open a bar. Aubrey is going to move to Seattle to do like more cooking school, and Willow is going to go to Atlanta to further her career in marketing. When she
Imagine graduating college and having that much planned ahead.
I know.
Right?
I know, right?
Nothing
well,
ready.
one of them is like grad school, cooking school. One of them is like, oh, I have a job. That's great. And then the other one's like, me and my boyfriend are going to open a bar, which is a career. So I guess the only one that I'm like, yeah, I identify is the grad school one. When Charlie reveals that she picked this area, they look at this town, and she pulls out of her back pocket this picture that she unfurls, and it's a drawing that the three of them, because they're all high school or like childhood friends from Michigan, pure Michigan,
Hey, Michigan.
that they drew as like preteens about like what they wanted their grown-up lives to be. And it was they had a very similar main street. There was like they wanted to have their own restaurant or bar or something. Like it was just like so picturesque, and they were like, oh my gosh. After this hike, they go into I keep wanting to say Timber Lanes, which is a bowling alley. Which I love. When they finish with their hike, they go to Timber Falls, like the restaurant, the one restaurant there. And this is Montana, if I already... Oh, yeah, Yellowstone. Anyways, Montana.
Thank you for clarifying. I would not have known otherwise.
Me neither.
I only know because of the show Yellowstone. So they make a pact by the time they're 28, they're not happy with their post-college plans. They are all going to move back. They're going to move to this town, Timber Falls, and open a bar.
Okay.
6 years later.
Fun.
Jackson Reed is at the Timber Falls Ranch, a top-notch quarter horse ranch, which he just took over after the death of his father 6 months prior.
Wow.
He's checking on the horses, which they let roam free. They've got acres of land with hundreds of horses ready for the picking. They explain what it is. They sell them for like shows, but also to like breed, but also to like live.
It's like a horse. Yeah.
It's just like a horse ranch.
It's a horse ranch.
But
yeah.
like I feel like I didn't understand exactly what the horses were being prepared for. Anyways,
Right, just general. It's a general horse ranch.
a general horse ranch.
I just had a completely random thought, and you can completely cut this.
Yeah.
But How much of a correlation do you think there is between the horse girl and the cowboy romance reader?
100%.
100%, right?
I think every girl,
100% of horse girls.
I think a lot of horse girls write cowboy romances
Right.
or read cowboy romances.
It's got to be like a gateway a little bit.
But I bet they get mad because they're like, I could have done that better than the cowboy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like critiquing.
Their gait is not correct
Right.
once riding upon the steed.
My brain only went to Tina Belcher being like,
Tina 100% loves a cowboy.
yeah,
Yes.
like
She likes the
but
butts.
she also is there for the horse,
Right.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
All
Like,
of it.
100%.
So like the fact that you were like hundreds of horses, and all I could think of hundreds of horses.
hundreds of horses.
Like I got so panicked for a moment there, thinking to myself, hundreds of horses. Oh my god.
So he's checking on the horses, which they are letting roam free, and sees one of the horses down. Calling the medics, but he sees there's no time. He runs up to the horse and he delivers the baby horse, the foal, foal, if you will. He delivers a baby horse. This is
Got
our
it.
first introduction to Jackson Reed. His friends Gunnar and Eli, who also work at the ranch as ranch hands, are his two BFFs. And they're like, nice one, nice foal.
Good job, Gunner.
I knew a gunner in high school.
Nice delivery.
I did.
Gunnar moved away to Nashville to be a country singer. His first album was great. The second one didn't do well. He has moved back
Got
to
it.
Timber Falls to really reconnect with like the land
The he
and to
and the
write
ha.
another. Huh?
The he and the ha.
The he and the haw. Eli moved away to do something else and then moved back when, and we find this out later, I'll probably say it again later, but his sister was in an abusive relationship and was murdered. Anyways, that's another book. We're not going to talk about
I mean,
Eli.
yeah. I mean, we're obviously setting
That's
up
the book
three,
I wanna
three
read.
guys and three
Yes.
ladies. What could happen?
So these two are the BFFs after their long day of baby horse delivering and such. They're so excited to go into town for a beer because before his dad died, Jackson ran the local bar.
There is nothing like a cold beer after delivering a baby horse.
Oh, you got that plasma on your hand? Plasma? Placenta.
Placenta?
I didn't even smoke. Like, I'm just here. This is going to be a hard story for me to tell. All right.
Hard.
I have had 2 glasses of weird wine. Okay. They're excited to go into town for a beer. Before his dad died, Jackson ran the local bar. And but because his dad died, he was like, I need to take over the ranch. I love the ranch. This is going to be really sad, but I do want this to continue on. So he did have to sell it. And because of that, it was the local watering hole. And the town bar basically closed. There are a few other places, but they're just a little too touristy or they're a little too like specific, I guess. Like nowhere is like an actual bar. Some of them are like,
It's like a restaurant that has a bar or
Yeah.
something like that, right? It's
Yeah,
not
something like that.
dedicated
yeah,
pub.
Touristy.
Yellowstone.
It's by Yellowstone.
Oh, there it is. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's still kind of small, but it gets tourists, but it's small. I don't know. The layout of Montana is questionable.
It's
to
fine.
me.
We can yada yada.
Yeah, we
over.
can yada yada.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
cool.
tonight's the opening night of the bar, and they're like, "Yahoo, let's go!" They arrive and
Not
they are,
yeehaw.
"Yeehaw, let's go!"
Thank you.
I'm gonna need help tonight. They're bummed because they see that it's been turned into an upscale cocktail bar.
Oh no.
And it's not the local Western themed dive it used to be. And
If I can't get my beer out of a bottle, I don't want it.
they don't even have beer. They have cocktails. This place
I love
used
a
to
good
have.
martini.
I know, I do too. This is a martini group right here. They used to have like old license plates lining the wall. They used to have dartboards and pool tables and line dancing, and now it's like very modern, black and gray, like high top tables and such.
Right.
It just looks very different. So Charlie, Willow, and Aubrey have opened this bar, if you couldn't tell. We learned that Marcel, who opened a bar in Arizona with Charlie, that's why they moved there, cheated on her with Hannah, the head bartender, on top of the bar. And they were actually
Marcel.
they were affianced, I believe.
Oh no. That
We learned that Willow had an abusive relationship and had to get out of that. I know.
Jesus.
And then Aubrey's boss was a super creep, and so they all cashed in on their pact, and they opened the bar called the Naked Moose.
So all 3 of these women were in some way dealing with predatory men and had to go, nope, we're going to open the Naked Moose.
Correct.
Wow.
And I believe it was called the Naked Moose prior as well, because there was like heads of mooses
Okay.
and moose.
And they just kept it.
Yes,
I
but
kind of
they
love that.
But they kept this is one thing I didn't write down, but I remember they kept the bust, the head.
The head.
Yeah, of the moose, but they put like a feather boa on it, and they put like, so it's a little more girly, and
That's so cute.
it is kind of cute, and they have now marketed it as like, this is like a girl's place, like it's great. And so these cowboys walk in, they're like, gosh darn it, like this isn't good.
I bet they're going to have something to say about that.
Let's hear about this toxic masculinity.
So the girls thought bringing something new and upscale to the town would be good, but they are confused when all of the locals are like, ew, on opening night. Because everyone is so excited for the bar to come. They all come in and they're all like, the fuck is this? And so most of them leave. There's like a smattering of women that are still kind of there in 2s and 3s. And then 3 cowboys are sitting at a booth, each having like whiskey. And they're like, this isn't what I wanted. So they see these cowboys, they're all really hot, and the girls are like, this is kind of fun. But 2 of the local girls that are sitting at the bar hear the 3 of them being like, those are hot cowboys, and they're like, stay away from them, especially that one. And they point to Jackson, who they have not met yet. They're like, he's a player, he'll break your heart, he's just in it for like sex. And they're like, got it, totally understood. The second night of the bar, they open up, and the only people in there are the cowboys, because they need a drink. And Charlie is like, boys are dumb, like, I'm not gonna let them distract us, even though every time she goes over, Jackson is now flirting with her. But her and Willow and Aubrey are like, we don't need men, beep boop babu beep. They have their whiskeys, and the men are getting up to leave, and Jackson is clearly bummed because they've changed his bar, and he decides he wants to get on her good side to be able to persuade her into reversing some of the changes.
Oh, okay.
So as he's leaving, he asks her out, and Charlie is like, no, I don't. That's probably not. No, I heard you're bad news. And he's like, you don't even know me. And she's like, I know enough. You have a dick. Like, it's very plucky. And I'm just like, oy vey, like, girl, like, let's move past this.
Let's move past this trope.
It has been like 10 weeks since she found her fiance cheating on her, so I do give her a little credit to be like,
yeah.
Okay, but I'm also like, we can dial it down a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like keeps talking to her, and she's like, you know what? Like, sure, meet me here tomorrow at this bar tomorrow night. And he's like, love that for us. This sounds amazing. And as they're leaving, both the like Aubrey and Willow turn. They're like, you remember tomorrow night's girls' night? And she goes, exactly. And so that night, the girls, who all live together, they bought a house together. Very cute.
The dream.
It is the dream.
Honestly.
I would love to live with my friends.
Yeah.
They devise a cowboy auction night for girls' night, with proceeds going to a charity. And they're going to surprise Jackson because he's a player. He doesn't need to know. And Charlie just doesn't have time for that. So the next night, Jackson and Eli and Gunner are on their way to the bar because he's going to meet Charlie for his date. And Eli and Gunner are going to be there too, I guess. And
I know I bring my 2 best friends with me to dates.
Well, I'm
gotta
sure.
bring 'em everywhere.
I'm sure because she was like, let's meet here. He was like, oh, I bet we're going to go to a second location.
Right.
And then Eli and Gunner were like, well, we need a drink of whiskey. So
Right.
what else?
Because we just took care of 100 horses.
Well, so they're on their way there when they see a car on the side of the road. They pull over and they see that there's a lady in there in labor. Jackson just delivered a horse not 2 days ago, so he jumps right in there. Also, this girl happens to be one of his ex-girlfriends from high school. They're on good terms. So he delivers her baby on the side of the road
Right.
and ends up being 40 minutes late to the date. And so when he walks in, everyone's like,
I can just imagine the conversation. Like, oh, you're in labor. You have to let me do this. No. And he's nothing I haven't seen before.
Are you a
Exactly.
doctor? No, but I helped my horse give birth a few days
Well,
ago.
100 horses.
her husband was also there and was like, help her, because she's like about to push a baby out. So like it was a consensual pushing of babies. I guess. And so he's surprised when he shows up because Charlie's like,
No.
you're fucking late. And
Yeah.
all these women are like, woohoo, it's time. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? And she's like, why are you so late? Like, do you not even care? And he's like, I actually just delivered a baby on the side of the road. And she's like, the fuck?
It's an excellent
And
excuse.
his friends are
to
like,
be fair.
no, like truly he did. And he's like,
This is why he has placenta. What did you call it earlier?
I said
Plasma.
plasma,
Plasma.
which is
All over
probably found within placenta.
Yeah, probably.
Plasma is blood.
Part of blood.
Part of it.
It's not the whole thing.
We're all correct. So he's
So he's surprised.
he's surprised. He's very tired. He looks exhausted, but he's there. And now Charlie's starting to feel bad because she's like, ah, fuck. But she's like, okay, we kind of did this thing. I hope you can play along. He's like, okay, I could do this. And he gets up. He gets on the bar. Everyone's like bidding on him. Like it goes as high as $1,000. But before he got up on the bar, he saw his friend. Let's call her Jamie. I don't know. And is like, hey, will you bid on me? Because he knows that she has a like long-term, very serious boyfriend. She's like, absolutely. He's like, I'll give you the money. She's like, absolutely, totally. His friend bids on him. She wins, and she goes, oh, I have a boyfriend. I can't go out with him. I'm gonna give it to the person who like made this all happen, Charlie. And Charlie's like, God damn it. Like I've been schooled at my own game. And it was like actually really cute. I was like, that was fun.
That's a cute
That was
shenanigan.
fun. It was
Yeah.
a good shenan.
Yeah.
And so the week, he's like, okay, I'll take you out on Friday. And she's like, yeah, totally. Okay. And so the week passes, work is happening. People are coming into the bar less and less. They don't know what to do. They keep having like random parties from people out of town. So like someone in the next town over got divorced. They're having a divorce party. And it starts to become this like a tourist thing but mostly for like angry women or something.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
That's
thing they're getting, the
That's
reputation.
the customer base.
Yes. And while they're like, this is great, but we want like people in here all the time.
To be a watering hole.
We want this to be a watering hole. Yes. And so the week passes. Charlie's mom also calls her and is like, hey, why haven't you talked to Marcel? And she's like, Mom, Marcel cheated on me. And she's like, yeah, but he called me and he feels really bad.
Yeah, but
and I was just like, oh God.
He's dead to us now, Mom.
Right.
She's
We
like,
get on board.
She's like, I think you just need closure. I think you need to at least talk to, because she saw it, walked out, left, like flew to Atlanta where I think it was Willow was living. And then they called up Aubrey, and then like 10 weeks later they were opening the bar. So like she really was like, gotta go, bye, and left. So it's kind of like that. Like
This is a PSA for everyone listening. Closure happens within you. You cannot get it from someone else.
correct.
Don't listen to your mom.
Absolutely not.
Also that.
Hi, Mom. So then she's like, okay, whatever. So she's kind of in a mood. And then she puts her phone down, gets another ping, looks at it. And Jackson's like, cool, I'll be there in 30 minutes. And she's like, oh, about that. I didn't think you were serious. And she's like, what are we planning on doing? He's like, well, I was going to take you like on a back to my ranch. We're going to go on a moonlight ride on horses and like with like a picnic. And I just thought it'd be really nice to like get to know you. And she was like, got my period, have really bad cramps. I don't think horse riding is something I want to do. So let's just call it like, thanks for doing that for charity. I think we're good. And he's like, oh, okay, got it. I'll still be there. And she goes, wait, what? And like no communication. So 30 minutes later, he shows up with a bag of like a heating pad, like chocolates, like Advil.
Jackson.
And Willow and Aubrey are like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, it's for Charlie. Because, she said she wasn't feeling good on her period. And they go, she doesn't have her period. And he goes, huh? And she goes, they don't know my schedule. Let's go on this date. Let's go. And I was like, that was actually really nice. So he picks her up and he's like, hey, I changed, you can keep all this. I changed the date. And he takes her back to the ranch, and he has this like big like backyard porch, and he's made like a nest of pillows on his backyard porch. And he like picked up food. He got her like chicken wings and like wine and like and he goes, and I figured it's just really nice out. It's still summer. Like we could kind of watch the stars and just like hang out. And I was like, that's the sexiest date I've ever heard.
The only thing I want to eat when I'm on my period are chicken wings.
The only thing I want to eat ever is chicken wings.
I want like
I love
celery
chicken wings.
and blue cheese and like buffalo sauce.
Yes.
And yeah.
I put buffalo sauce on almost everything I can.
Yeah. I eat
love
like
buffalo
shit
sauce.
when I'm on my period. There's something I need meats.
Yeah. I do tend to tell a lot of guys I go on dates with, like, what's one of your favorite foods? I'm like, buffalo wings.
Yes.
You ever want to buy me buffalo wings? I'll probably kiss your face. And
Yeah.
they're like, really? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I always want buffalo wings.
Constantly. Shout out to Wild Goose Tavern, Wild Goose Pub,
In the square.
one of my favorite wings in the city.
Yeah,
TBH.
agreed.
So they're hanging out. They chat for like an hour. He's asking her like why she came here, like how did this all happen, da 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 da. How long have you known Aubrey and Willow and this? She's asking him, and we kind of yada yada over it, but they've talked for like 2 hours now, and she's like, in her inner monologue, she's like, I'm actually having like a really nice time talking to this guy. So like, what's that about? And so he goes, oh, and he tells her why he had to sell the bar. She learns that he was the owner of the bar. She didn't realize that. And she finds herself having a nice night, and she finally confronts him like an hour in, being like, some lady told me that you were a heartbreaker and that you're full of red flags and to not get involved with you because it's a bad idea. And so did he do all of this to just like sleep with her? Because like, what's your end game? And he's like, honestly, no. I wanted to get to know you so I could talk to you about the bar, so you could maybe like change some things back, but also like I'm really attracted to you and I just kind of want to see where things go, and if that's okay with you, but like I'm just going to be upfront. And she's like, oh, okay. And then there's like kind of a moment she's like, okay, and then like straddles him and starts making out with him, and he's like, whoa, are you sure? And she's like, yes, I want this. They start kissing hard, and she's like, I'll give you something for the bar if you give me something. She goes, what do you want? He goes, can you start stocking beer at the bar? Like, and these specific 5 specific like brands, like we love these beers, like that it'll help you get people in. And she's like, sure. And he goes, what do you want? She goes, I want to forget Marcel's touch. Oh. Which leads to number 1. Ain't no one named Marcel on this ranch. Jake liked that one. And so they mac hard, as I say. Oh, Gemini, get away. And then they get naked. And then he like eats her out, and she's like, this is the best. He learns that she in fact does not have her period.
Yeah, okay.
She does not have her period.
Surprise.
And she surprise. I want to do that to the next surprise. So she's having a great time. She comes, she's like, yes, now we shall sex. But he after coming, he finishes himself off onto her, which consensual. But she's like, well, what the fuck? I thought we were gonna have sex. And he's like, no, I don't want you to think I'm just here for like sex with you. I wanted to have fun, but also I want to get to know you. And now you can't say that I only wanted sex. And so she's like, well, okay. And so they're like, that was kind of nice. And so they maybe I read too fast. I don't think they get redressed. And I think they fall asleep in the cuddle puddle of the nest.
Okay.
So he's on his working ranch where people come at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
In his backyard, naked on a pile of pillows. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, that would. I don't think I would be able to sleep.
Well, she isn't, because she's waiting for him. She hears him fall asleep because he's been working at the ranch all day. He's tired.
Right, he's tired.
And she kind of just starts thinking like, oh my God, I just got out of a relationship, a long-term, fiance relationship like 3 months ago. Like, what am I doing? This was fun, but like, I clearly am not ready for this.
Yeah.
And ghosts. Like, gets up, puts on all her stuff, and just like gotta go.
That's a good for her story.
So, but the next day, her friends, who she again shares a house with, they like come in, they're like, spill the beans. She's like, I don't know, I feel like kind of a mess, which I'm like, I truly understand this.
Yeah.
I get it. And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I too have been a mess, girl.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. And so, and they're like, it's okay to just have fun. Like, it's okay. Whatever you feel is fine. But like, if it's not weird to like feel a connection with someone. I know it seems like soon, but if not, like, don't freak out. Like, I know it's easier said than done, but don't freak out. She's like, okay. So that same day, Jackson has texted her. She has not responded. And he's like, this is weird. Like, I thought we had a great time. The lady who had the baby comes to visit the ranch and is like, look at my baby. You delivered him. And then he's like, he has the inner monologue of like, I think it is time for me to like settle down and have a family.
Oh my gosh. So they're in completely different places.
Nothing like looking down the barrel with the barrel of the gun. Is that the phrase?
The nuzzle, I think I said earlier.
The nuzzle.
So later on, it's lunch shift, And all the ladies are working, and Charlie's in the back doing some shit when she hears a commotion, and she comes outside, and these other cowboys from a different ranch are causing a ruckus and taking it out on Willow.
The shark and the jets all over again.
Well, they're like still mad about the bar. They're like, yeah, sure, you got beer, but like, what else? Nothing. We don't got nothing to do in this bar. And they're taking out on Willow, who is like the nicest, sweetest friend. They're like, she is sunshine, she is happiness. And so Charlie immediately is like, absolutely not, and runs over, and she's like, the fuck are you doing? And Eli also happens to be there having lunch by himself. And so Charlie kind of tells them off, like goes back to comfort Willow, like takes a peek outside, and Eli is like, get the fuck out of here, to like all the guys.
Good.
And so he kind of like helps and stuff. And
I was about to say, what the fuck is Eli doing? We're supposed to have a book about him later. You better say
We'll learn later. But he keeps eyeing Willow, so you know.
Interesting.
And so later on, Eli goes back to the ranch, and he's like, "Oh, this is what happened at the Naked Moose." And Jackson's like, "Whoa, I think I should probably go check on her because also she hasn't texted me back. So I think I should I should just go to her."
Okay.
So he does. He gets there that night, and he sees her, and he's like, "Can I talk to you outside?" And she's like, "Yes." And she's like, I'm sorry for ghosting you. That wasn't cool.
Never
He's
go
like,
to the second location.
never go to the second location. But
True.
she's like, I had a great time with you. I just don't, and I really like you, but I can't date you because of all these red flags that I've heard that you have. And he's like, okay, well, we spent time together. I thought maybe you could like tell, but why don't you come to the ranch tomorrow and hang out with like some of the people that work there and some of the locals, because you're clearly still having issues with people coming in. Like I heard today, some of the other ranchers were like still not crazy about the bar. And come.
Thank you so much for telling me about the people who don't like my establishment. Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome. And he's like, it's not a secret. And figure out like what they like, and also maybe you can see that I do have green flags instead of red. And she's like, this sounds dumb. Okay, I'll do it. And so she wakes up at like 4 a.m., drives to the ranch in her little overalls, because she's like, gotta be a cowboy today. And she gets there. He's there. He gives her a cup of coffee. He's like, I'm gonna show you around. Then we're gonna go buy you some boots, and then you're gonna go home and pack a bag. And she's like, what? Why? And he goes, well, we're about to do a roundup, which is when they have to get a certain group of horses ready for auction / party.
Sure.
And that group of horses is high up in the hills.
Yeah.
And it's like
Hundreds of horses.
hundreds of horses.
Oh, and you got to bring him down.
And they got to bring them down. So it's like a day's ride. They're going to camp out, sleep under the stars.
I think I remember this from Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, all the cowboys, and
Yeah.
then come back. And he's like, so this way you can like actually get some one-on-one time. You can see like how hard they work, and you can get to know them, and they're not going to be like, who's this lady? And
Are
she's
you
like,
bringing me on a work trip?
Yeah.
Yes.
He is.
She
He
is.
is. Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? Okay, like this sounds silly, but like I'm never gonna get to do something like this. And she's also like, I'm not very outdoorsy, but I'd like to experience it.
okay.
And
She's
so,
game.
mhm. And so she learns about that, and she learns that all the local. So like while she's there during the day before she goes home and like packs her bag, she starts talking to some of the locals, and they all tell her that her bar has a reputation for like broken-hearted out-of-towners. So he's like, I don't want to go there when angry like 50-year-old ladies are going to be screaming about their ex-husbands. And she's like, that is fair. That is fair. I understand. And so she agrees. She goes home and packs her bag. All her friends are like, ooh, look at you being a cowboy. And she's like, I know. And Marcel calls because he's been calling nonstop and she just won't pick up. So
Boo.
she finally picks up and she's like, dude, leave me alone. And he's like, I just feel so bad. Because like you had to leave, like you just left your life here, and I like was the cause of that. And she's like, listen, I moved up here, I've started something new, and I'm really happy and I'm really enjoying this, and like I don't forgive you, but it's okay. Like I'm starting a new life, so but I'm moving on, and I need you to move on too. And he's like, okay. And she's like, cool, never call me again.
Great.
And
Yes.
so she's like, woo, all right, check that off the list. I'm gonna go be a cowboy now. So she goes back and she goes on the roundup. She feels like a cowboy, and she learns about the people, and she has a good time. And it's just a lot of like, and I realize that these people are really good, hardworking people. And I'm like, all right, let's say this in another way. Like, come on. I mean, I'm sure there's not much to like write about that, but you got to fill some time.
Yeah.
And like, Jackson makes sure that she sleeps next to him and that he
Cute.
brings an extra blanket for her to sleep under the stars. And she's like, that was sweet. And they kind of like make eyes at each other.
I would still be pissed if a man made me sleep outside.
And there were no bugs at all.
There was
the
never a
entire
bug.
time.
We never saw a single
Which is why
bug.
I'll
one.
never go camping.
And everyone, magically, the bathroom was very easy and cleanly every single time.
That's
Yep.
right. And so they get back. They do some of the roundup in the afternoon or whatever, and they get back kind of late. And he's like, don't drive home. Like, just stay in my house. Like, I have an extra room. Like, it's just, you've been out all day. I'm too worried about you driving. She's like, totally, yeah, thank you. He goes, actually, like, are you really tired? And she's like, I'm kind of still keyed up. And he goes, I want to take you somewhere. So he takes her on that midnight ride that he had promised in the date. And they go down the property to like a small cottage. And she's like, this is nice. And she goes, yeah, it was my parents. It was like before they could build the whole ranch. Like, it was like their own place. And they go around the cottage and there's this like little like pond area. And he's like, do you want to go skinny dipping? And she's like, absolutely. And so they go skinny dipping.
Cute.
And they kiss in the pond. And I went number 2. That's kind of romantic just because it's like moonlight and like you're the only two on the pond. And like you've been like, bouncing around each other, and like he holds you but like touches your bits consensually but not like dirty, and like it's so nice.
And it's not cold. And
it's
there
not-
are
and there's no
bugs,
eels.
and
I
there are
literally all I
eels.
can
no
think is
frogs.
leeches. Like, you're saying
Yeah.
this, and my brain is like screaming the word at
Just
me.
frogs,
This pond has
mosquitoes.
been deleached. he made sure it was.
Yeah, because he's a gentleman.
Oh, I would have 3 layers between me and any openings in my body if I was to go in a pond. Are you
Literally,
kidding me?
like I want to enjoy this so much,
Yeah.
but that part of my brain, and it happened during yours too, where I was just sitting there going, "Why are you so loud, brain? Be quiet. We're listening to a story."
I can totally be like, that's so romantic. Me? No. Yeah, leeches, man.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
But they went skinny dipping and it was sexy.
It was sexy. And so, that's why I was so confused. So it's romantic, and they kind of had a nice time. And so a couple days later, they're back at the bar, and she has implemented some of the changes that all of the Cowboys basically told her about. So they've put in a pool table. They have like a country western actual night. And they do all that shit, and the locals are loving it. And they are now coming in droves. And she's like, this is so great. So all the boys come in, the 3 boys, and they all are like chatting, and he's kind of like touching her hand, and she's like kind of doing this and whatever. And Aubrey and Willer are kind of like looking, and Eli and Gunnar kind of like looking, but they're all like still being friends. And they're like, you know what? Let's all go to the ranch tomorrow. Let's have like a big bonfire, and let's just like hang out. And they're like, yes, I love this.
Okay.
And so he's like trying really hard, to like be friends and to like do stuff. And she just kind of looks over at him, and it's that moment of like, shit, I really like him. And so she leans in and she kisses him.
Aww.
And he kisses back, and they smile at each other. And it's that moment of like, oh, I think this is going to work out. This is nice. And so she's like, okay, I got to start working. So she goes into the back room, and she brings out a case of beer, whatever. And she sees, as she walks out, she sees a woman like draped all over Jackson, like not just like touching him, but like touching him. And she immediately is like, oh my God, like flashback to Marcel, all this stuff. And
Her traumas.
He immediately is like, no to the woman. It's like, get the fuck off of me. But then looks up immediately, sees Charlie like heartbroken. She turns and like runs. And he's like, no, I just said no.
Oh my God,
gone
Charlie.
through the miscommunication.
And
I
so-
hate you, Charlie.
And so, well, she runs to the back, and so he immediately follows her. And she's like, no, I just need a second. And he goes out to the alley. They both go out to the alley, and he's like, did you see me push her off? And she's like, yes, it just brought up memories. Like, that was a really traumatic moment. He's like, I understand, but like, you are the only person I want to be with. Like, I'm into you. I choose you. Like, I want to be with you. And then they start making out. And then she's like, you know what? Prove it. And then they bang in the alleyway. Hot. Leading to number 3.
Nothing like
I guess
being-
trash day happened because it must not smell. Like, guys, they're banging in an alleyway.
Literally, is that what
The
you said
first
the exact
time.
same
The
thing I was
first time
thinking.
they've had sex. The
Yes.
first time they've had sex. You pick a dirty alleyway.
Smells stale.
So they bang in an alleyway.
Wow.
Things are going well. They have a bunch of sex and they're like,
Needless to say.
this was great. They walk back in, their hair is all messed up, and like Willow and Aubrey were like, you owe us $10. They banged or whatever. It's like a cute moment. So things are going well, but Charlie has a bad feeling. This is like, a couple days have gone by, and I told the story wrong. Well, a girl comes up to them who works in the real estate office and is like, hey, I got to tell you something. And she's like, yeah, what's up? Because she overhears her talking to Aubrey and Willow about Jackson.
Oh, no.
She goes, hey, like when you first opened up, Jackson like stormed into the real estate office and was like, can I buy my bar back? They've ruined it. And she was like, are you serious? Yeah.
Jackson.
She's like, are you serious? She's like, yes. And it sounded like he would do anything to like change it back. And I was like, who is this bitch? Like, she is meddling in stuff that happened like weeks ago. Like, I guess it's not that long ago in this time. But
yeah, real estate agents should not speak bad. Like,
I know. Well, she was the assistant. She's not bound to an NDA.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but like,
HIPAA doesn't apply to her.
NDAs.
HIPAA doesn't apply.
Really bad taste.
But I was just like, she's like, well, us girls got to stick together. I was like, okay, this is now the third time this has happened, or like second or third time someone's been like, oh, that guy, he's a fuck boy. Like,
right.
The first time I get it, but like, I don't know. This seems a little too much, like you said. So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Charlie now storms over to the real estate office, and he's like, I can't say anything about stuff. And she goes, just blink if Jackson like came in here and tried to get you to sell the bar back. And he was like, and so she's like, oh my God, I knew it. I knew it.
Drama.
He was just using me, which I was like, okay, he did in the beginning, was straight with you and was like, I wanted to get to know you so you could make changes to the bar. Like he told her up front. So I was like, you can't really be this mad.
Yeah.
But she is.
But she is. And so she's like, this whole thing has been a ruse. Jackson comes into the bar that night and all the girls are like, fuck you. And he's like, why? And Charlie's like, we'll talk later. And so later that night, she drives over to the ranch.
What a way to handle that.
We'll talk later. Well, she's working. She doesn't have time for this. She's working. She's running a bar. Locals are in.
Didn't she fuck him next to a trash can?
In an alleyway. It was a slow night.
In an alleyway, Andrea.
Yeah. Come on, Andrea. There was boxes. So she goes over to his ranch and is like, I'm not mad at you because I get it. She's like, I'm not mad at you because I get where you were when we first arrived. Like, I understand you were angry and you did tell me that. But also, like, I can't do this anymore because I need to work on me before getting into a relationship because I really feel like a mess. And I feel like you and I are having this strong connection, but, like, every little thing that happens is freaking me out and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't want this to stop. And she's like, I want this to stop. And so he's like, don't go. And she's like, promise me we'll still be friends. And he's like, yes. And then he's very sad. And his friends are like, well, get her back. And then she goes home and she's really sad. And her friends are like, well, take him back. And so the next morning she's all sad still. And her friends are like, yeah.
I thought we came up with a perfect solution. Hold on.
Get him back, take him back. Yeah. And so, so here's where there's like a big twist.
Oh no.
So her friends are like, yeah, you like him. And she's like, yeah, I do, but I don't know what to do. And then the phone rings.
Oh, God.
And she gets a call
from Marcel.
It's not funny. This is terrible. This is awful. I'm just laughing because you guys are
laughing.
I'm just laughing because you guys are what? Dicks?
So she gets a call from a doctor in Phoenix telling her that Marcel has been in an accident and is on life support. It's just such a 180. That's why I'm like, Jesus. So I read that. I was like, Jesus. And so she's like, oh my God. And she's still, because they were affianced. She's still listed. It's also been like 4 to 5 months.
And she's his emergency contact.
Exactly. And she's like, oh my God, his parents are like on a cruise in Europe and his sister is in France right now. And the doctor's like, you got to get them here as soon as possible because the machines are what's, keeping him alive. And she's like, oh my God. So she immediately is like, I'm going to go fly down there and just be with him until his family can get there. And so she flies down there. And meanwhile, Jackson goes to the bar and talks to Willow and Aubrey because he's like, you have to help me fix this. Like, I care so much for her. I need to do something. And they're like, dude, she just went to Phoenix because her fiance's dead pretty much. And he's like, oh my God. And they're like, she's super sad. And he's like, I got to do something. He calls Gunner and he's like, you still have that in with the private plane, right? Get me a flight to Phoenix.
Oh my God.
And he flies down and he sits with her in the hospital until Marcel's sister and like parents can come. And I think he was laughing. And she's kind of like catatonic, and he takes care of her. He takes her back to his hotel and orders her a charcuterie board and gives her like, he's like, go take a bath, like chill out. And so then they sit down and she's like, you know what, this is just like made me realize. She also was like, I think I forgive Marcel because he is passing. And he takes her back, draws her bath. They chat and she's like, I don't want to push you away. I'm so sorry. I want to be with you because life's too short. And I shouldn't be scared.
Right. Yeah.
And then they start making out, which leads to number 4. Now that's what I call room service.
I can't make out with someone right after eating a bunch of cured meats.
Honestly, I can, and I have multiple times.
I'm just thinking about my breath.
Both of our breaths are dirty of meat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Although I guess I should say she didn't eat too much because she was still thinking about like life and death.
Oh, right. The nature of
I'm
life
assuming
and death.
charcutes was for after. He ate her meat and then they ate the charcuterie
There
meat.
you go.
Thank you. Yeah, again, leading number 4. Now that's what I call room service.
I'm just picturing her staring off into the distance, thinking about the thin line between life and death, just putting sausage slowly into her mouth.
What kind of charcuterie?
Like a summer sausage. Like
Okay.
you know.
So they have sex. It's great. They're back together. They love it.
Only that.
They attend the funeral together, and she feels lighter. There's light coming in. She's saying goodbye. She realizes that she can move on. She's at home in Timber Falls.
I mean,
she's
thank
made
God
the right
this
choice.
guy died. I'm like,
I know.
how else would she have these realizations?
They return home together. They fly home together, and they make things official. And 2 months later, they move in to the ranch together, and it's happily ever after. And they're having a bonfire. And they walk. They're doing some dirty deeds around the ranch.
Yeah.
They're like, let's get back to the bonfire. They're walking. There's only one path, and it's blocked by Willow and Eli making out. And then they go, excuse me, and they're like, oh my God. And Willow freaks out, pushes Eli away. He falls down. She's like, huh, and then runs away. And they go, well, this will be interesting. And I was like, book number 2.
Oh my gosh.
Which honestly, I
That's
kind of
fun.
want to read.
That's a fun
That
setup.
one's gonna be darker, so I'm really into
Ooh, okay.
it. Happily ever after.
Cute.
Devil and Blue Jeans.
Devil and Blue Jeans.
Mm-hmm. So the game I have is called Rank the Intimate Spots.
Excellent. Yes.
1 through 4, in a nest on the back porch.
Right.
Midnight in the pond full of leeches.
Yeah.
An alley behind a bar. And a hotel in Phoenix.
All right.
Specifically
Can
Phoenix.
I go just through each of them and why I have a problem with every
No, but you have to say we're best to worst. Or worst
yes.
to best. No, let's go best to worst.
Best to worst.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can still say what you have an issue with, but you still have to rank them best to worst.
Yes.
Okay, great. I will go with the Hotel of Death and Sadness for number 1.
But it's
Agreed.
in Phoenix, remember.
It's in Phoenix.
You're right.
But hotel sex is best sex.
I mean, circumstances at the like everything that you've said about all of those circumstances, I'm just like, I mean, it's fine. At this point, it just feels like you're having sex because you have the hotel room.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's also, you know, that hotel is very close to the hospital.
Yeah, you know that there's nothing but sadness there.
Yeah.
Also, she's
The
like,
airport, too.
she's like,
so close to the
she's
airport.
like, goodbye, dead fiance. Hello, hot guy.
That's
and
how it feels.
charcuterie.
And charcuterie. Yeah, that one also killed me.
I do love a good hotel time.
I do too.
It's a fun time.
But like the night that your former fiance
Well,
died.
she's lighter. She feels lighter.
Right.
She feels lighter. It's fine.
Oh, great.
She's learned to love again.
She's lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your best.
That's
nest
the
is,
best.
Nest is, or I'm sorry, hotel is best.
And then I guess the nest outside, splinters.
No, covered. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on like
Yeah,
a,
there's blankets and pillows.
All right. And then it's like, oh, by the way, like she sneaks away first thing. Like she sneaks away. I can only imagine like trying to remember exactly where my car is with the
Yeah.
hundreds of horses.
Hundreds of horses.
So many horses.
All right.
And I'm also gonna say pond has no leeches in it. You're safe from you're safe.
You're safe from critters.
You're safe from critters in the pond. Now, bacteria, another story.
That's
E. coli, another story.
I can't. My brain immediately is just like,
You have to get in there, but it'll be the worst for you.
yeah.
So you'd rather be fucked next to a trash can in an alleyway.
Well, I have been.
Damn.
Welcome to Chicago.
I mean, yeah, we all live in
look,
Chicago.
I was about to say, how?
Excuse me. I've never. Okay, so you've ranked them. Jess, ranking best to worst.
Hotel, alley, back porch, pond.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with the back porch because
You got to put away all those pillows.
I got to put away all those fucking pillows.
But what if you
He
don't have
has
to?
to
What if
put
he
away
has to
those
do
pillows.
it? Yeah.
That's better.
Motherfucker.
That's better. But also, there's something about I don't want to be naked in wide open spaces.
Wide open spaces.
I knew as soon as it left my mouth that would happen.
This has been a really singy episode.
And I'm picturing like his backyard overlooks a ranch, which is
With
just
100 horses?
with
And the
100
horses are watching.
and that's just
Yes.
too much for me. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's not a very secure situation,
All
and
of the
I would
horses have
not.
to be this way so they can watch.
Right. I don't need it. I don't need horses spying on my sexy times.
That's stupid.
And then pond because I think I would be cold.
I think I'd be cold
I think
too.
I'd be really
I think
cold.
pond
and
is
I
my
think I would
least.
get a yeast infection.
Oh my god, 100 p.
Yeah.
100 p yeast.
Yeah. What about you? What's yours?
Okay, worst would be the pond.
Yeah.
I feel like my instinct was nest would be first because I feel like that'd be really comfy cozy.
Yeah.
But then I'm like crickets.
you don't want to hear them, or you don't
Bugs
want
outside.
You don't want to see them.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't want any bugs to get in my area.
You're such a city gal.
Yes.
The crickets aren't going to get in your area.
What if they do? What
The
if one of
mosquitoes
them,
will.
Oh my god, I didn't even
ants
think of
will.
mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay, so bugs.
It's over.
Just okay, citronella candles abound. But what if one of them what if a
sexiest of
spider
scents.
crawls? What if a snake slithers into
There's
the
a snake
nest?
in my boot.
You would know about a snake. A spider you would never see.
I would never see.
So
maybe that's down below. Maybe that's
Yeah.
3.
that's
I
the other
guess-
issue with the pond is
I guess
mosquitoes, too.
hotel in Phoenix has to be one, but like
It's Phoenix.
it's Phoenix.
Yeah.
But okay, no
What is
bad.
wrong with Phoenix, Arizona?
I have a beef with Arizona as a full, but that's a
Arizona.
story for a different time. Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I guess alley behind the bar would be second, which is weird.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
It's
Again,
comforting.
I'll cut it all out. Yeah, but I guess it's close enough that I can escape should I need.
Right.
So yeah, I guess
Okay.
it's the same as
Listen
you.
here, we
You
are
said it,
just
right?
all little dumpster rats. Here we are.
Dumpster rat. So that was Devil and Blue
Dumpster rat.
Jeans.
Good job.
Out of 5 raccoons and trash cans, how would you rate both of our stories?
Each of our stories.
Okay, I loved the stories you guys picked. Really,
you.
truly. But I still hate this trope.
I understand.
That's totally
really
fair.
do. There's something about it that I find the micro tropes that you find in each of them just awful.
Yeah.
As in, like, the toxic masculinity thing?
No, everybody's
or-
just dirty.
okay.
We had dust.
But, like, yeah,
It's everywhere.
Yep, and like not only that, but like also there is a sense, not like toxic masculinity, but there is something that is like rough and tumble. I take what I need. I don't give anything back, which isn't the case
Yeah.
with the guy with the baby horses, I guess. But like he
Yeah.
did piss me off in a different way that I can't also
Yeah.
describe.
It's interesting. I think I want to try and go back and find those ones that I did like as a younger woman,
Yeah.
and
Right.
see if they still hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cowboys is not my. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's not something I'm gonna seek out.
No.
Same
If it's
here.
thrust upon me, I shall read.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I enjoyed my romp, but I'm not going to, like, seek it out or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Right.
for sure.
so
Yeah.
rate us, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm yes, for real. I will go with. I had a solid 4 raccoon time with you.
With me, Jessica.
With you, Jess.
Thank you.
With me, Jessica.
well, audio medium.
Yeah, that's right.
With me, Jessica.
your host,
Tombstone.
and I will give. I'm gonna have to give a solid 3 raccoons.
Because of those baby foals.
And like I said, I would have to always imagine the horses
Them blue jeans. and those
watching horses.
horse spies.
Plasma all over your hands.
There was everything about that character made me just go, I hate him.
I totally get that.
I didn't like either of them. Yeah.
I hate
I
him.
really was annoyed with Charlie.
She
Jackson,
drove me a little
less
nuts,
so, but
yeah.
I was just like, I was still annoyed with both of them. Again, I am curious to see how the second one goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it did paint the world, which was nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, those are some good ratings.
Yeah. Any final thoughts about Cowboys?
Oh, never again, team. Never
All right.
again.
All right.
I will never force you guys to do Cowboys ever again.
Well, thank you.
you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you had fun while we did it, though.
I
Yeah.
really did.
I feel like this night was a romp.
It was a romp.
It was a little romper,
We
not a
needed
jumpsuit.
it.
It was a romper.
Coming out of Thanksgiving, we all
We
need
need it. So you have 2 episodes left.
I do.
You have 2 normal
Yes.
episodes and then a finale left. So you gotta. I hope you saved up some good ones. Some good thoughts.
I really was thinking that maybe this one, because we have things going on, maybe a holiday special type.
Oh.
I hate because I did read one that I enjoyed and then I hated that I liked it.
Okay.
Because I wasn't expecting to. It had a cartoon cover on it.
Okay.
But like I think that anything that takes place with perhaps Mr. or Mrs. Claus, like that sort of stuff.
you want specifically like a holiday figure, or do you want a holiday
Like it takes place during Christmas.
Because we've done Snowed In,
Yes.
which was our Christmas
we did
episode.
New Year's Eve. We did Snowed In.
So I would stray away from just either of those specific. Well, we did New Year's Eve Kiss and we did Snowed In.
Can I ask for something very specific?
Most
Yeah.
likely.
Can I ask for a Father Christmas?
Like stories that involve Santa Claus.
Yes.
Can you? I could easily find something.
Can you?
I have accidentally found something disgusting before.
Yeah. Are you ready for Daddy King?
Yes, I'm
I was
ready.
gonna say I accidentally fell onto a daddy kink, and I was like, oh, it wasn't
Because I have one that immediately comes to mind, but it's not. He's not Santa Claus. He's just dressed up like Santa
I'll take it.
So do we count
Well, yeah,
that?
'cause- okay, cosplaying as Santa, that works.
Right. Like, will we
So should we say
accept
Santa or cosplay as Santa?
Just Santa needs to be involved somehow.
Santa needs to be involved.
We could do that.
All right.
I'm upset.
Santa
Well,
needs
remember
to be
this
involved.
is coming out February.
This is going to come out in
I
February.
don't care. Give it to me now.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
All right.
All right. Next.
Santa in some capacity.
Oh, it's gonna be unhinged.
Father Christmas
You know that's
will
gonna
be
be
here.
Oh, as weird as inanimate objects. All right.
Santa baby.
We don't have the rights. We don't have the rights. We don't have the rights. All right. Be back next time.
Be
with
ready for
Santa.
some rank smut. Is all I'm saying from
Don't
my
use the
end.
word rank.
rank. Stinky.
All right.
Next to the trash can.
Santa. Oh my God! If I can find a Santa in an alleyway. Also, as I say, all of my grandma's Santa collection.
Don't
not
look at
all of
them. Don't
There's
look them in the eye.
Some over there. There's some over here.
Don't look him in the eye. It's fine.
I'll see you next time.
For Santa Claus.
All right, we're just 2 raccoons.
Talking about the
best
trash in town. Bye.
Bye.
Femmes Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Femmes Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.